Louis van Gaal's army! Louis van Gaal's army!
We're all doomed!
Very, very early morning sports radio for postmen, trolley dollies,
out of a dirt chip, Prestwick,
and anyone who had to do a dawn runner after a very ill-advised one-night stand.
Go, go, go!
Over my dead body.
The Two Mikes on Talk Sport.
Look at the light!
Just tell us where you buried that body. It's obvious you've had a row. Did you fall out over a cup of tea or something like that?
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. It's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Paddy. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Oh, you couldn't get your words out there, could you?
No.
Well, you've been drinking again.
A very good morning. No, I haven't, even though it was actually International Wine Day yesterday.
It certainly was, yeah.
Which we both kind of didn't know about.
Well, I knew about it, but not a drop past my lips.
But you didn't mention it to me yesterday. You didn't say, by the way, it's International Wine Day.
Well, I mean, that is like giving an alcoholic a can of beer, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose it could be.
That'd be like giving a food addict another kebab. You know, you look as if they've had a couple of kebabs.
Well, we don't really need an International Wine Day, do we?
No, every day's a wine day when you're in the world of the wisdom, if you know what I mean.
The world of the wisdom?
The world of the wise. That's right, I meant the wise. I tell you what, I get irritated by the Manchester United situation.
Why?
It's now because, people who are near to the club or attached to the club, whatever, have to be fashionably anti-LVG now.
Well, you can't really be pro-LVG, can you? How can you be?
But it's a bandwagon thing, and it's starting to irritate me that everybody now is just piling on the bandwagon, put the boot in on LVG, Louis van Gaal, his time is numbered at Manchester United, we all know that. So, I do think...
Well, except we don't all know that, do we? Because we were told last week that if, in fact, he manages to get United into the Champions League, then he'll still keep his job.
But... No, he won't. There's a doom-laden atmosphere hanging over Manchester United, which cannot be eradicated whilst Louis van Gaal...
So surely now's the time to do something about that,
but I mean, to be honest, if I was a long-standing Manchester United fan and we'd had 25 years of unbridled success under Sir Alex Ferguson, I'd take this as a hiccup, and I certainly wouldn't be going around putting the boot in on a bloke who was brought in to try and put it all right after Sir Alex Ferguson's era. But everybody now, anybody associated with Manchester United, near to Manchester United, long-term, follower of Manchester United, just sticking the boot in. And frankly, I think it's a bit cowardly.
Yeah, but there's a reason for that, and that's because Jose Mourinho is still available. If Jose Mourinho gets a job somewhere else, they won't be able to get it.
Jose Mourinho will go to Manchester United, won't he? We all know that.
Well, we don't know that because
why
we don't know that any
that
deal has been done.
When the Fifth Estate, which you and I have been members of for a good long time,
indeed,
managed to produce stories saying that Jose's going around telling everybody he thinks the job is, and Manchester United have not issued one word of comment...
denial.
I was going to say comment far more denial, then it's pretty obvious to me what's going on. And what must be happening behind the scenes is that Jose Mourinho must be investigating the players he's going to bring in the summer transfer window, and he's doing it without officially being appointed Manchester United manager.
Oh, you think there's actually some kind of strategy going on here?
It must be, because once you're a Manchester United manager, the cost of a player goes up by 20 million.
Yeah.
What he's doing is, I believe...
So what, you think he might be going around sort of having meetings with various people?
I believe, you talk to people in the game and all that, that he's already got a sheet of white paper and he's planning what the Manchester United team will be when you kick off next August.
So you don't think there's any chance that they're going to look at this result and go, this is enough, we now have to let this guy go?
They might do, but the work is underway already to build a new team for next season. I can't see any point in them doing that this season, and that result wasn't that bad last night.
Well, it wasn't that bad. No, but it wasn't that bad on paper. They'll probably get through in the second leg, but that's not the point, is it? I mean,
of course they will.
We were listening to the chairman of the club the other day on the Sports Breakfast, who was kind of saying, well, they're not really quite a championship team, if you want to try and find an equivalent, maybe sort of League One, that kind of level. So that's effectively what's happened. They've been beaten by, effectively, a League One team.
I know, and people are saying, it's shocking because that team haven't played for 2 weeks of the winter break. Well, that means they're fresher than Manchester United. Yeah. And they're just, they were rusty. They came into the game rusty. No, they weren't. They were absolutely raring to go again after their winter break and got stuck into United, who must have been quite surprised by the speed and the agility of the team, who saw a football for the first time in 4 weeks. So I just think it's a ridiculous overreaction. Everybody now can only say bad things about Manchester United, and frankly, it's like Louis van Gaal has now got his head in the stocks, and everybody's been offered a rotten tomato to cut up and throw at him. And
but at the beginning of the week, people were talking about, maybe they can win the Europa League because they're still quite a good team, and they're pretty much one of the top teams.
Even if they did, so what?
They get into the Champions League that way. He keeps his job.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a so-what situation. What I'm saying is that's a backdoor entry into the Champions League,
Yeah, but it's still an entry into the Champions League.
It's not good enough.
But they're not going to do that if they can't even get past this Danish minnows team.
Louis van Gaal is never going to be trusted with the immediate future of Manchester United at all. It's over for him. He's gone. He's finished as a manager in the top level. He probably won't take another job in football after this, but if he does, it'll be something like, technical director of the Dutch football team or something like that. He won't manage a club again.
He might go to China, of course.
He might go to China, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Of course he could go to China, because in China he's a colossus, he's a giant, he's a man who can actually say on his CV, I lifted the Champions League trophy. Of course he could do that. But he's finished in Europe now. He can't be a credible figure because of the humiliations that he's heaped on himself, really, at Manchester United through not being able to grasp the enormity of the job. But I still don't like people just queuing up to put the boot in on him, you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. It's not
this
nice.
This is very, very unlike you. I've never seen such passion coming out of you at the end of the week.
It's not that. What I'm saying is, Louis van Gaal's got a great track record. He wouldn't have been appointed by Manchester United if he hadn't. So he's a man of dignity and standing, and I don't like to see colossuses.
Well, maybe this was just one job too far for him, though, and the record that he's got doesn't make any difference.
If an elephant falls over in the jungle, right, you don't walk up to it with a cane and start whacking it because it's fallen over. You know, the elephant is a massive, dignified beast. It is one of the great animals of the world. It is. You stand there and you look at it with awe and you look at it with compassion because it's a colossus. And I think LVG is a bit like that, really. And I think people need to, wise up, really, and stop.
Funnily enough, I had a note earlier on from
trying
somebody
to imitate everybody else
who said they spotted you falling over earlier on, not actually in the jungle, but somewhere down in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey. Is that correct?
I'm wary of commenting on this report. What exactly are you trying to say?
Well, all I'm saying is I got a note on social media from somebody that thought they'd seen somebody who looked very, very much like you. On all fours, kind of staggering around on a pavement.
Funnily enough, I was on all fours on a pavement today. But it had nothing to do with...
It wasn't outside a pub?
No, it wasn't.
No.
It was outside Specsavers.
Specsavers?
Yeah, and it's nothing to do with International Wine Day. I got 2 new pairs of specs today.
Oh, are those your new glasses?
Yes, my new glasses, like...
They don't actually look that different.
What do you mean?
They don't look
Well, they're not, because they're the same style as the ones... I mean, you have big, thick black rims, because you want to hide as much of your ugly face as possible
like these. I just like
from
the way
general
these look.
public. Me, I'm prepared to have my whole face exposed to the elements.
So
you know
are they designer glasses?
Yeah, designer.
Which designer?
Let me have a look here.
What does it say on the side?
There's not much room on the side, actually. Are they police or something? Is it police?
Police? Oh, very trendy.
Do police still make glasses?
Oh, I guess they do, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, really. I can't find anything here. I'm not sure. But anyway, the point of the story is they're trifocals.
Right.
Now, when you wear trifocals, you actually have wobble walk.
Are they not like varifocals or something?
Yeah, very. But that means there's 3 different...
Yeah, so you can read, you can drive, you can see long distances and all that sort of thing.
Well, if you look at through the top of the glass, the top of the, what's it called, lens, you're looking distance.
Right.
Middle of the lens, you're
sort of looking sort of...
Television
short distances, like up to the internal monitor.
And bottom of the lens, you're reading. Okay.
You're reading, yeah.
And that's what they are. They're like that. Now... I've got 2 pairs.
So you've got to get used to not looking down, haven't you, basically?
Yes, that's right, you have, yes, that's absolutely right. Now, the problem is you get wobble walk when you put these on.
Yeah.
Because what happened was I came to the edge of the pavement onto the road.
Right.
And I misjudged it completely.
What time of day was this?
This was about 9:30 this morning.
Okay.
And I misjudged it completely. I thought it was a foot further down than it was, and my knee buckled and I went over.
So there was no question of you having had some kind of International Wine Day ablution or anything like that?
I haven't had an alcoholic drink since last Saturday.
Have you not?
No.
Amazing.
Although I'm preparing to imbibe tomorrow, Saturday.
Yes.
Because I hopefully will be down in Bournemouth celebrating Everton's passage through the FA Cup. Although I say that with the greatest respect to our host, Bournemouth AFC.
Yes, who have been very warm in their welcome to us already.
Oh, very warm indeed. And we are going to communicate with the Bournemouth fans down there.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And they have asked if you would like to play a bit of zigzag penalty taking
zigzag penalty
at half-time.
What is that exactly?
It's exactly that. You have to... I think it's playing with a dodgy ball or something. You know what I mean?
Dodgy ball?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Well, you'd have to explain it a little bit better before
I'm not sure, but they want you...
myself to that.
At half-time, I'll be luxuriating in the boardroom with a glass of wine on the screen watching you out on the pitch playing zigzag penalty.
So you've set me up to do something
well,
like that?
I volunteered you for it,
thank you very much indeed. Well, you'll have to explain what it is first before I agree to do it.
Yeah, OK, yeah, well, I'll find out. Anyway, see, look at this. I'm just looking at tomorrow morning's papers have just come in. Yeah. Humiliated. LVG. Fans right to abuse us for horror show.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, but it wasn't a humiliation. They lost the first leg of a 2-leg tie against a team who were going to be overawed by the game at Manchester United at Old Trafford.
Well, you say that, but I'm not sure that Manchester United will actually win. But we'll talk some more about that. We've got loads coming up, of course. We're going to go to Sandra Lee down in Australia to talk about some very interesting Australian stories that we've got, including something called the hairy panic, which is very, very strange indeed.
Yes.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party.
I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world. Life is plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. Imagination, life is your creation. I'm a blonde single girl.
Remember that song?
Who's that?
Well, it's a song called Barbie Girl.
Barbie Girl. Who's sung that?
A band called Aqua.
Aqua?
Yeah.
That's water.
The selection comes from the great sort of treasure chest, you might say, of Danish bands, but there's not that many of them.
Danish band?
I didn't
even know there was one Danish band.
Well, there's a couple of Danish bands.
Never heard of a Danish band.
Well,
the only Scandinavian band I've ever heard of is ABBA, Hocus Pocus by Focus.
They were Dutch, weren't they?
No. Were they?
Yeah, they were Dutch.
Oh, were they? OK. So the only Scandinavian band...
Why do you always call them Hocus Pocus by Focus?
Well,
Isn't it just Focus is the name of the band?
Yeah, but they made a record called Hocus Pocus, and I liked the alliteration, Hocus Pocus by Focus.
Right.
So if I made a record...
But that's like saying Let It Be by the Beatles every time you name the Beatles.
No, it's not. No, it's not, because that's not alliteration. Let It Be by the Beatles is not as alliterate as Hocus Pocus by Focus.
Yeah, but that's not the name of the band, though.
So, for instance, if I made a record, I'd call it... Talky Harry by Porky Parry. You see what I mean?
Talky Harry by Porky Parry.
Yeah.
And
so
you may well make a record like that.
Might do, yeah, so that people would actually remember. You know, they'd alliterate. They'd say, oh, Porky Parry, oh, he did Talky Harry. Yeah. And every time Talky Harry came on the radio...
So you think that would make more sales or something like that?
Oh, definitely, yeah. They'd say, oh, it's Talky Harry by Porky Parry. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, listen, I want to talk to you about a report I read today, which has quite revolted me and actually put me off my dinner this evening.
What did you have for dinner this evening?
What did I have? I didn't actually have any dinner this evening. That's because I read this report.
Oh,
but right. I had some cold meats mid-afternoon.
Cold meats?
Yes.
Oh, very nice.
Chicken, pork.
What sort of chicken? What,
beef.
you mean like sliced chicken? Or
sliced
like chicken roll that you can get?
No. Sliced chicken. Proper sliced chicken.
Okay.
Sliced pork. Sliced beef. Beetroot, red cabbage.
Very nice.
And boiled potatoes.
Is that all you... boiled potatoes?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So you had something hot with the cold meats?
Yes, I did, yeah, I like that.
That's like something out of the war, isn't it?
No, not really.
It really is.
No, not really. But anyway, there you go. Now...
So what's so repulsive you couldn't have your dinner?
Oh, just listen to this. I mean, honestly, you know, I don't know.
It's a family show, you know.
It says 1 in 4 men over 85 still has an active sex life.
1 in 4 men over 85?
Yeah. Pass the sick back,
all right.
Alice.
Okay, well, why is that so repulsive to
Well,
you?
it's repulsive because if they're talking about a man of 85 having sex with his lifelong partner, then the image
Well, you would hope that was the case, wouldn't you?
Well, no, hang on, I'm telling you, the image of, you know, two people of that...
But why would you have to think about that particular
age rolling around together is just, you know...
You don't have to think about it.
It's unpalatable to me.
You don't have to think about it. Why did you read the story if you thought it was so horrible?
Well, because the headline hit me.
The headline misleading.
1 in 4 men aged over 85 enjoy an active sex life. I thought, no, this can't be true. This is a joke or something. And then I'm thinking to myself, hang on, they could be talking about, like, very rich men aged 85.
Right, like Hugh Hefner.
Like Hugh Hefner, absolutely right, who may be having intimate physical relationship with young women of their persuasion, you know what I mean?
That might be even more unpalatable.
Well, that's even worse.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
absolutely right. I'm thinking, oh my God, it'd be like having sex with a corpse or something like that, you know what I mean?
Well, what would that be like, though? But I don't understand why you're so kind of against people doing whatever it is they want to do in the privacy of their own home.
What, at 85 years of age? Shouldn't be doing it.
What's it got to do with you? It's better go for a walk on Epsom Downs every day.
Yeah, women are also likely to continue their sex lives into old age, with nearly 1 in 10 sexually active after they've turned 85. The inquiry into sex among pensioners was undertaken by the International Longevity Centre. I mean, fancy having to have an organisation.
What is the International Longevity Centre?
I don't know. It says the International Longevity Centre UK suggests most men are still having sex after they pass 65. That's fair enough. You can be a very fit and able 70-year-old.
At what point are you supposed to stop then?
Well, shouldn't be going on at 85, honestly. You should stop behaving yourself by then. And most men of that age think about sex at least once a week. Is that all? That's odd. But, I mean, people like Terence
I thought men
Stamp...
were supposed to think about sex once every 20 seconds.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah. I mean, people like Terence Stamp, international sex symbol most of his life. I think he's about 70 now.
He's probably older than that, I would have thought.
Is he? Yeah, but he still looks like a fine figure of a man.
Yeah.
But some cretinous old 85-year-old stumbling
I think
around...
you're being very harsh on older people. You're supposed to be
shuffling
respectful.
around with a walking stick and all that at 85 years of age. Shouldn't be having sex with anybody. Honestly, I just don't think it's a good thing.
I think they should be congratulated, actually. I don't think there's any problem with that at all.
The findings were taken from another report, the large-scale English longitudinal study of ageing, and come at a time when healthy life expectancy of men and women is increasing fast, and against a background of a silver splitter boom in the number of older... silver splitter boom.
What does that mean?
It's the number of older couples who are parting
I see.
when they get into their sort of dotage years.
Oh, what? So they get up to 75, 80 and then they're split up?
Yeah.
That sounds bizarre, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Because I thought
absolutely.
the point was that a lot of people, as they get to those kind of ages, worry about being lonely. I mean, you fear poverty, but you're not worried about being on your own. But a lot of people who've been with someone all their lives don't actually want to be on their own in case they die on their own and nobody's there. And
I totally accept that. I totally accept that. They also say that men over 65 now are increasingly going to their doctors seeking a male form of HRT.
Oh, yeah.
Which may improve the mood of ageing men and increase their sex drive. I mean, honestly, when they get to 65 and I'll start having to go to their doctors and say, listen, doc, give me something to improve my rumpy-pumpy factor.
Yeah.
Well, I think they must be going mad.
Well, sex is quite good for you, though. I mean, it's good for your health. Doctors recommend it, and, it keeps you fit. It keeps your heart in good order, of course.
I have absolutely no doubt about the benefits of... active physical exercise,
maybe this is
which
the reason,
sex is if it's done properly.
Maybe this maybe this
is
one of the reasons that you can't get a doctor's appointment because of all these people queuing up for Viagra.
Could be, but I have to say I find it very unpalatable, and actually I don't really want to talk about it. Because
there's also the possibility that they weren't actually being completely truthful. Because when people answer surveys, and if they're asked a question that could be a little bit personal, they might give a different answer to the one that is actually true.
Oh yes, absolutely, yeah. No, it could well be, but I don't think we should do surveys like that. It gives people the wrong impression about everything. Hey, listen, your mate in our mate in Brazil.
Brazil, Tim Vickery.
Tim Vickery.
Yes.
Right. Now
Talk Sports Tim Vickery, some people might call
Talk Sports Tim Vickery. You're going to be talking to him again next week, aren't you?
I am.
And he's told you about all these bays in Brazil, which are so polluted that if people fall in, they need the stomach pumping.
Well, not only that, but these are the places where they're actually going to hold the Olympics.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So these Olympic rowers and sailors and all that, got to be terribly careful about typhoid and all that kind of stuff. There is a much, much worse problem now that's going to arise as in the run to the Olympics.
And what is that?
People are starting to get eaten by piranha fish.
Eaten?
Yeah, in the seas around Brazil.
I thought piranhas only went into rivers.
No. Guess what's happened?
These saltwater piranhas?
Here, listen. Drought conditions have forced the razor-toothed predators, that's piranha, from their natural habitat in rivers, with many ending up looking for food in waters used by holidaymakers. Up to 50 tourists have had chunks of flesh taken out of their hands and feet. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I know it's not necessarily a funny story.
I know.
It's just the way you're delivering it.
Yeah, including 3 children.
But presumably not in the sea, though. This must be in lakes.
This is in the sea. This is in the sea.
Well, how can a freshwater fish go into saltwater?
I don't know, leaping over sandbanks and all this kind of stuff.
No, I don't mean that.
Piranha.
I don't mean that. I mean, how can they exist in saltwater?
Well, they can. They've evolved, haven't they? They're evolving. It's like.
Well, very quickly. There's only been a drought for about a year.
It's like if we started living in swimming pools, we'd evolve webbed feet and webbed hands, wouldn't we? Because that
Why
would
would
cope
we
with
be living in swimming pools, though?
Well, I don't know. You know what I mean? If we one of these days we might have to take to the sea and live under the sea because there's no room left on the land. That was the whole principle of the water babies, wasn't it?
There's loads of room on the land.
Written by Charles Kingsley. Now, it says so far all the piranha attacks were single bites rather than potentially deadly attacks from shoals. But the fear is that individual attacks at the moment will become mass attacks.
And where is this actually happening in Brazil? Which part of Brazil?
Well,
because they're mostly in the Amazon, these fish, aren't they?
I suppose so, yeah. Well, the Amazon comes out somewhere, doesn't it?
Well, of course it does, yeah.
Yeah, wherever it comes out, that's where the piranhas are,
right,
okay?
All right.
But, I mean, it's so frightening. Do you remember, isn't the one of the greatest scenes in the Bond films? It was the one where old Blofeld was nicking Was he nicking? No, who was he doing? He was nicking the old tanker was nicking the submarines, wasn't it? Remember?
Oh yeah, okay.
And remember, he was stroking his
Which one was that?
Well, hang on.
Was that one of the Connery ones?
No, it's a Roger Moore one.
Oh, OK.
And what happens is he calls his 2 assistants into his office.
Into his lair.
With his
cat.
And they have to walk over a bridge, don't they, where there's an aquarium below. And
Right.
he's got all his fish in the aquarium, you know?
Yeah.
And this beautiful...
Isn't that the shark thing, though?
No, this is not the shark thing.
Are you
No,
sure?
this is different.
Uh-huh.
And one of them's a guy and the other one's a woman. They come in and then he berates them both and says there's been a security leak. Then he dismisses the bloke.
Oh, yeah, this is the one with Rosa Klebb, isn't it? And you think that she's going to get killed, and in fact he ends up shooting the other one.
I don't know about Rosa Klebb being in it.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
think
sure.
so.
But anyway, the bloke walks back over the bridge, the ornamental bridge, and goes and gets in the lift. And then he says to her, he says, yes, and you, my dear, you know, you're doing a great job, well done. She walks over the bridge. The bridge opens, boom, she goes down a chute, and she ends up in the aquarium, which is full of piranha fish. And you see the start of her being eaten by
Eaten
piranha
alive,
fish.
yeah, and they strip the flesh down to the bone in seconds, isn't it?
In 3 minutes.
Oy.
In 3 minutes,
Right.
they've taken every bit of flesh
Well,
off the human.
that'll make the old Olympics quite interesting.
Well,
Because not only do you want to
I'm telling you.
avoid going in the water in case you get some dreadful disease,
I'm
you want
telling
to
you.
avoid going in the water to avoid being eaten.
Absolutely, piranha fish around. I warn everybody now, be very, very careful if you ever go swimming off the coast of Brazil. The piranha fish have broken out from the Amazon and are now prowling round in shoals on the coastal waters of Brazil.
Sounds absolutely terrifying.
It's a
We may
report
have
you
to,
heard here first on Talk Sport.
We may have to check that one out. We've had a lot of reports of your kind of stories, actually, that have come out this week that you predicted weeks and weeks
thank
ago.
you.
We'll talk
Thank
about
you.
those coming up in a little while.
Yeah.
Porky Quiz night, of course, and it's on Sir Francis Drake tonight.
Certainly is.
Hope you've done your homework. This is Talk Sport.
Bienvenue au week-end sports breakfast avec Michelle Quinn et Georgie Bingham.
Hey!
Oh, really, Mickey?
Every Saturday and Sunday morning from 7 on Talk Sport with Benno Vans. It's the breakfast show that cooks up a souffle of sport and a pan au chocolat of pre-match build-up.
There's no need to milk it, Mickey.
The hors d'oeuvre to another big weekend feast of football. The weekend sports breakfast on Talk Sport with Benno Vans. To celebrate 18 years as Europe's #1 van manufacturer, right now it's Van Month. Ooh la la.
Everyone knows that all the best things come in threes. 3 Amigos, 3 Stooges, 3 Lions. And right now, if you sign up to 888 Sport, you'll get treble odds on your first bet. Play with 888 Sport and harness the power of 3 with treble odds on your first bet. New customers only. Minimum £5 bet to qualify. Maximum £10 bet at treble odds. Bet at normal odds. Extra winnings added as a free bet within 72 hours. Free bets must be used within 7 days and are not included in any returns. See site for full terms and conditions. 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
What do you think?
Oh, that's lovely on you, Jack.
Oh, yeah, it really suits you, Dad.
It's not too much?
No, it's lovely. It's really you.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, it's a fixed rate tariff too.
I'm betting the other one.
Oh, yeah, that's dead nice.
You shop around for clothes, so why not for energy deals? Switching energy suppliers could save you up to £200. And with our independent guide and links to Ofgem approved comparison sites, it's never been easier. Visit goenergyshopping.co.uk.
This morning from 6.
Non, je suis pas d'accord.
Make sure you listen to the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast.
With me, special guest host David Ginola.
This morning from 6.
On the Talk Sport.
Salut!
Does anybody know how long's your World War III? I wanna know, I gotta book me holiday. They want me in the army, but I just can't go. I thought I'm busy listening to
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, and of course there'll be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. We're very excited about the FA Cup weekend, going to Bournemouth against Everton on Saturday. Mr. Parry's going to take me down there in his car, and then we're going to go to the game. And then I'm going to have to come home because I'm not going to be put up at his family residence. But never mind all that. The Bond film, according to Jeff, is You Only Live Twice.
That's
that you're
right.
Talking about.
That's right.
Sean Connery.
Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, I don't think it is.
That's what he's saying.
You
That doesn't mean you have to
only
sing a
live
song.
twice.
Now, how about this one from Moz? He says, old Porksky is taking you to a Russian club on Saturday. Watch your back. Because, of course, Bournemouth do have some Russian investment and Russian owners.
Oh, they
don't
certainly do, yeah. And they've been very successful and very professional in their investment in the club. Look how well they're doing, you know, considering the resources Bournemouth have. They're a miracle, and it's going to be a great day on Saturday. But
So, presumably, you'll be sort of filling them up with praise as far as the point of view that you have about Vladimir Putin?
Well, I think you'll find, Mike, that a lot of Russian investment in this country has been extremely beneficial to the British economy.
Well, you might say that, but some people would say it's pushed up the housing prices to a point where, nobody can afford to buy one anymore.
Well, hang on, it's a world economy. It's a world economy.
Well, it's not a world economy for everyone.
If I wanted to go and buy a house in Moscow...
Do you think that would be easy?
I don't know, because I've never bought a house in Moscow.
I don't think it'd be as easy as it is to buy one here, if you're a Russian.
Well, it's Russia's a free country now. Russia's a democratic country.
Well, that depends, doesn't it? Because actually I was doing some research about your beloved Russia earlier on.
You researched?
Yes, I was.
You researched something for this show?
Well, I do that from time to time. And according to some people who have been watching Russia for quite some time, what Vladimir Putin has been doing over the course of his tenure is that he's made it more and more like the communist state that it was supposedly no longer acting like, because everything is now controlled from the centre. The government now controls all the media organisations. Any media organisations that were critical have been kind of neutered, if you like. The people that ran them are no longer running them. Some of them are no longer alive. All the separation of the judiciary and the government has been completely and utterly wiped out.
What are you on about? Where are you getting all this from? What propaganda is this?
Serious documentation that I've got, which I've got in front of me here, and basically they're saying that Russia is now closer to the way it was under the Politburo than it ever was, and it's all controlled by Putin, and it's all controlled by his people, and there is no dissent allowed, and there is no possibility of running a business unless you are kind of given the nod by the man in charge, the president himself.
You see, you've been taken in by the black propaganda, haven't you?
So you're calling that black propaganda? Well, that's what he would call it. He would say that, anybody who criticises him is making it all up, because in Russia, that's not allowed.
Yeah, well...
So if you wanted to go to Russia and run a radio station or to put out a radio programme which is critical of Vladimir Putin, you'd end up with some lead boots on in the river.
Well, why would I want to be critical anyway?
Well, because that's your job. You're supposed to be a journalist. You're meant to be critical. You're not supposed to, swallow everything that any politician says and go, oh, yeah, he's great.
I don't swallow anything, mate. What you're trying to say is I should go there with a completely negative approach to Russian society.
Not at all.
I've been in Russia when it was a communist country.
Yes.
And I've been in Russia when it's been free of the shackles of communism.
Right.
And I have to say, it's an absolutely buzzing, thriving, go-ahead country now.
And was Putin in charge the last time you were there?
Putin was in charge last time I was there. Yes, indeed he was.
So now apparently it's a lot different, though, since that time, since the last time you were there.
No,
that was a few years ago, wasn't it?
Well, the last time I was in Russia was the
Champions League final.
Champions League final. Was that 2009, was it? Yeah, 2009, I think, yeah. So, OK, that's, 7 years ago. But I went there before the wall came down, and it was a grey, dark, black, soulless, empty country.
No, I'm sure it
Nobody
did improve.
Walked the streets of Moscow at night.
I'm sure it did improve.
Now,
but
Moscow
now
is almost like Las Vegas.
Yeah, but now it's also, once again, the land for the people who
freed up.
But it's the land for the people who are kind of at the top, and it's not the land for everybody. That's the point.
Yes, but it's a land for more people now than it used to be. Everybody used to be enslaved. They're not enslaved now. There are opportunities in Russia. You just have to be rather clever.
You just have to get
with whom you mix.
Well, you have to be on the right side of the president and all of his people.
But that's true. That's true in most countries.
No, it isn't.
It is.
No, absolute rubbish.
Are you telling me that you don't think that people get political influence to improve their wealth in places like America?
Yeah, but you can open a business, you can run something. I mean, I quoted you from that farmer last night about how he couldn't actually run his business because things were being run very much from the centre. He couldn't make any money.
Who was this?
The guy that I was quoting from last night, the guy who was on he was on Sky talking about how the Russian sort of centrist...
It's all black propaganda.
No, it's not all black propaganda.
Honestly, I don't know why we bother going on about this. Now, let me talk to you about something which is actually important, OK?
Tell me what's important.
What I'm going to tell you is this. And I get so fed up with this. When we go down to Bournemouth tomorrow, it may be that I'll pick you up at the station down in Stockbroker Belt,
we're going to be driving down, right? So which way do you go?
Drive down. Well, we're going to go actually down the A3, along the M27, past the Gosport turning, where my
you're going to go through the New Forest?
We're going over the New Forest.
I'll be able to show you where the car broke down.
Oh, OK, that's great. We go over the New Forest. That's right, absolutely right. And then into Bournemouth. Now, however, the point of my story is that we have decided that you will come out of central London and meet me in a location in Stockbroker Belt.
Because that would make more sense.
Of course it makes more sense. I don't want to drive into London and you don't want to drive out. That's common sense. So it means I'll have to park my car somewhere within the vicinity of the station in order to greet you at the station and direct you to the car.
Right.
Otherwise, you might be wandering around somewhere like Epsom.
Presumably it's not that big of a station, is it?
Well, this is the point I'm going to make.
Right.
There's hardly any parking space around any stations in Surrey anymore because the councils, for some unknown reason, don't seem to want cars to park in the town where traders rely on that sort of trade for their businesses to thrive.
But surely they want them to park in the station car park, don't they? Because that's not in the way.
Well, the station car park, in my experience, in 2 or 3 towns I know in Surrey, is a mile away, not a mile away, but it's a long way away from the station, you know what I mean?
Okay.
It's not, you're going to walk out the front.
Yeah.
In the old days, you could just pull your car up, you could wait there for 5 minutes, and you suddenly jump in the car and we're away.
But
you can't do that
now
anymore.
There's a camera there, I presume.
There's a camera there,
Right.
there's a taxi rank, all the other bays are for disabled, you're not allowed to park there, and it's all down to the fact that they've now seen the parking as a restrictive practice to make it pay for the councils. Listen to this. Council chiefs intend to put up parking charges to plug what they claim is a hole in their finances. They have warned of major increases in fees for everything from the care for the elderly and disabled to taking away garden rubbish, but the one area where they can raise the biggest revenues is in charging motorists extra fees, that is, in
fines,
machines.
you mean? Or actually just per hour?
Just per hour.
Right.
Per hour to park their car. I mean, for instance, the other day, I parked in a bay in a stockbroker belt Surrey town, not anywhere near the centre of town, so it was a good half-mile walk, but that's the closest I could find a metre, and it was £4.50 for 2 hours.
That's pretty cheap, actually, nowadays.
Not outside of London, it's not.
£4.50 for 2 hours?
Yes.
Well, it's not that bad, though.
I think that's ridiculous.
And did you have to put money in, or did you do it on the phone?
No, I had to put money in. I put in a £2 coin, 2 £1 coins, and a 50p piece, OK?
Lucky you had the coins as well,
Well,
otherwise you wouldn't have to do it.
I have coins, I have a box of coins in the car for this very...
You have a box of coins?
Yeah.
How much is in the box of coins?
About...
At any one time?
About £15.
£15?
Yeah,
really?
in coins, yeah.
Where'd you keep it?
I keep it in my glove department.
Your glove department?
Sorry, the glove, what's it called?
Glove box.
Glove box, that's
okay.
it, that's the one, yeah.
All right.
So what I'm saying is, they've become another cash cow, the parking slots and all that kind of stuff.
But doesn't that also mean they're going to be looking to fine people a lot more as well?
Oh, of course
they
they
make
are.
much more money on the old £50 fine.
Yeah, of course they are, they are. But what it means is, it means that when I greet you, in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey on Saturday morning, be prepared for a 10-minute walk before we get to the car.
Why don't you just sit in front of the station? Like
you can't.
Why not?
You can't. That's what I'm saying, Mate. You can't. It's all restricted areas.
Well, yeah, but it's a Saturday morning. Nobody's going to be bothering to watch, are they?
In one station, in Epsom, for instance, it's all pedestrianised anyway. You can't get your cars up near the station.
Oh, okay.
It's ludicrous.
Right.
It is utterly blinking ludicrous.
Well, can't you just keep driving around until you see me?
No.
And just get closer and closer?
The road doesn't go anywhere near the front of the station anymore. Do you see what I mean?
Okay.
It's ludicrous.
Well, it all sounds very confusing.
It's very confusing and
are you just worried about getting some kind of fine?
I'm not worried about getting some kind of fine. What I'm worried about mostly are the traders. You've got to understand that, in any town you need a newsagent. Now, if that newsagent can't have a space or 2 spaces in front of it where somebody can stop, jump out, go and get a paper, get the packet of fags, buy a packet of crisps, Well,
that's what nobody can do anymore in almost all places, because if you do stop, then you get a ticket because you don't see the camera sends you the fine, and away you go.
I stopped in a town called Cheam quite recently, and it was purely because I wanted to go into WH Smith to pick up some of my journals, my information journals, OK?
Information journals?
Yeah, I was there about 3 minutes. In what I thought was a parking bay. About 2 or 3 weeks later, I got a letter saying, we've paid your fine for you. Right, that came from the company who's
the leasing,
my leasing car.
Company, yeah.
That's right, yeah. And I said, why? And I went back and I said, why was I fined for this? And there was a kebab shop next door to WH Smith.
Right.
And they said, no, this is loading only. And if the camera doesn't pick you up loading something in and out of your car, you get a fine.
That's ridiculous, isn't
and
it?
I said I was loading. I was loading magazines from the shop next door.
Right.
No,
that's the problem with having a leased car as well, because they always pay it.
Yeah,
they don't ever appeal it.
They always pay it, and they say it's got to be a 2 foot square box minimum going into the boot of the car.
Well, maybe you should keep one of those in the boot of the car.
Yeah, exactly. Good idea. That's what I was thinking.
2 foot square box.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and you just keep moving it in and out.
Exactly. That's right. Or if I stop outside WH Smith, open the boot, get my box out, right, walk into WH Smith, get my journals,
put them in the box,
walk out, put the box back in the boot,
and then you'll be okay.
That's the way to do it.
Excellent.
But isn't that ridiculous that you've got to gerrymander the situation like that?
It is totally
absolutely
ridiculous.
Disgraceful.
Totally ridiculous. We'll talk some more about that coming up. I've got a couple of parking stories for you as well. Coming up next, though, we're going to speak to Ross Dyer from ESPN and see what he thinks Everton's chances are coming up on Saturday at Bournemouth. This is TalkSport.
Talk Sport. Upgrade your entertainment.
Have any of you ever considered buying a racehorse?
On DAB, digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Tested to thrill.
1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Is that better?
Talk.
Oh, yeah, of course we are. Parking meters, excellent.
I know your short-term memory isn't great.
No, that's great.
Go.
I remember hearing that record the first time ever, and the effect it had on you was just staggering. Nobody had ever written records like that before, when Sgt. Pepper's
came out. But that kind
of
echoey type sound.
Exactly, yeah. Nobody had ever heard things like that before. You know what they used to do? Because they lived in St John's Wood. By the way, did you know St John's Wood was the biggest whorehouse area of London in the
I didn't know
the late 1800s?
Really?
It's where rich men used to keep their mistresses.
Really?
And so the rich men kept their mistresses in houses there.
Uh-huh.
Poor men went there to seek prostitution.
Right.
Because it was one on every
corner.
corner.
It was a right den of iniquity.
Oh, den of iniquity, terrible. But anyway, I was going to say is...
Well, should we talk about the FA Cup first, though?
Oh, I think we should talk about the FA Cup, definitely.
I think we should do that, because we've got loads and loads of FA Cup games live on Talk Sport, incling Bournemouth against Everton.
We've got 3 games, haven't we, on Saturday?
We're going to, yeah. Well, we got loads more than that, because we got games on Sunday.
But on Saturday alone, we're doing 3 commentaries, aren't we?
Yeah, and we've got Shrewsbury Man United on Monday as well.
Arsenal Hull, Watford Leeds at 3, and then Bournemouth Everton at 5:15. That's some day.
That's
some day of live commentary. Have we got enough commentators?
I think we have. Yeah,
quality. Are they quality?
They're all quality here at
Excellent.
Talk Sport. Let's talk to Ross Dyer, who's at ESPN, and find out what he's expecting from Everton this weekend. Ross, a very good morning to you.
Hello there, chaps. How are you?
Hi, Ross. Very good.
Sorry for the sort of delayed intro coming to you there, but I'm sure you've learned an awful lot about St John's Wood now that you didn't know before.
There was some segue.
It really was, yeah.
Yes, it was, indeed. You're absolutely right. Ross, great to have you on the show, because, of course, Everton, I hope, are going to steam through the 5th round with apologies in advance to all our friends down at Bournemouth, where old MG and I are going to be, associating with those people at Bournemouth, who are very nice people. What do you give Everton as a chance to get through and power on in the FA Cup there, Ross?
Oh, I wish I shared your optimism, Mike. I think it's going to be a tough one. I think it's going to be a real tough one for Everton, given the form they're in at the moment. I think that Bournemouth will really fancy it. I think that I hate to say it, Martin Atkinson's been appointed the referee, so that never really goes down too well with Everton.
No, it doesn't. No.
And
what's wrong with Martin Atkinson?
Well, I think he was the Sterling guy, wasn't he, in the Manchester City game?
He was he was the. It goes back to the Merseyside derby, doesn't it? Jack Rodwell.
Oh, that's right.
And Luis Suarez.
That's right. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But doesn't that sometimes mean that he might want to go the other way and be a bit more sort of kind to Everton than he's perceived to be in the past?
Well, hopefully he'll just be straight down the middle. I guess we'll leave it at that, shall we? But I think Bournemouth will really feel like, the draw that happened back there, was it November when it was the crazy time of
3-3
scoring in the 95th minute.
That was the last time you were down there, Paul, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Did you take part in the pitch invasion? Or not?
No, I didn't. But I mean, that was part of the kaleidoscope of absolutely bizarre incidents at the end. I'll tell you what it was, Ross. When we scored the third in the 95th minute, we scored in the 95th minute, 3-2. I turned round to Jeff Mostyn, who is the chairman of Bournemouth, and I was commiserating with him. Literally, we'd just taken the winning goal, and I said, I'm really sorry, Jeff, it's been great to be here today, thank you very much. And he wasn't looking at me, he was looking over my shoulder, and then the crowd started roaring again, and I thought, that's funny, why are the Bournemouth crowd roaring, considering they've just lost 3-2? When I turned round, I discovered they just scored another one, and it was 3-3. So it was a real crazy old game. But I'm a little bit more optimistic, Ross, because you said, that Everton's current form. You've got to remember, apart from the blip against West Brom at home, when we lost 1-0, we won the previous 3 games 3-0.
But they're being called the most inconsistent team, though, aren't they, in the Premier League at the moment?
That's right. That's just it. Did you not feel like watching the Everton West Brom game last weekend? It was like the most fancy sort of 5-a-side team that you've ever watched, knocking the ball around and not doing anything.
Well, not really. I mean,
playing against I thought that we were playing against a pub team that just was able to hack the ball away, and we just lacked any kind of killer instinct to find a way through. No one had any real I mean,
we had 34 attempts on goal. We had 34 attempts on goal. We had 14 corners compared to West Brom's
hit the post
one.
a couple of times.
Hit the bar once and the post once. I mean, I think it was just one of those games when literally you can't explain. Inexplicably, we didn't win. But I expect Everton to revert back to the 3-0 type form this weekend. And if we don't, of course, then we've got a major problem because, season over type talk and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that would really sort of ramp up the volume, wouldn't it? About sort of the discontent and rumblings that we've been hearing over the winter, really. But anything can happen. I'm completely open to it being another cracking game, and I think that Everton certainly have the players to be able to hurt Bournemouth as we did in November. It's just that game management, which I think last week was another. I don't sort of see it as the unlucky thing against West Brom. I see it as game management, being able to seriously, get the job done as they failed to at home against Swansea as well. I think when Everton put out those performances where we look so good at times, but can't actually get the job done, you have to ask questions about what's going to happen in a cup tie,
Well, you of course could be right. The other thing is, I do rate Bournemouth as I rate their manager very highly. Old Eddie, what's his name? Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe. He's a terrific manager. He's so level-headed and so pragmatic about the strengths of his team. I mean, they've got 3 key players out with cruciate ligament injuries. And one of them's a star striker, and it didn't, he never dwelt on it, never bemoaned my bad luck, which loads of managers do, don't they? Oh, well, Steve McLaren talking about his injury list and Alan Pardew about his and that kind of stuff. He never mentioned that. He's a first-class guy, Eddie. He'll go on to other greater things in the game, and it's going to be a real test. But I have to be confident that Everton can get through.
Yeah, just a word on Eddie. He's an absolute gentleman, as you said, and Bournemouth are very lucky to have him. And I think everyone realises that down there as well. He's been with the club since he was a kid, and he's just an exceptional guy.
He is.
His feet are on the ground. He won't get carried away if things go well. He won't get too down in the doldrums if they don't. He understands the context of the game.
Yes.
And he's got a lot of growth in him, and his team have got a lot of growth in them. And I'm just delighted to see them punching I don't even want to say above their weight. I want to say they're punching at a weight which is now allowing them to improve as players, as people, as representatives of the football club. And I think this season, if they can stay up, I'll be absolutely delighted because, of course, I have fond memories of starting my career there, and he was a player when I was there, and I just love him to bits. So
what was that on?
I'm a winner either way on Saturday.
Yeah, sure. Was that local radio, newspaper, or what was that, Ross?
I was actually fortunate to be their first press officer.
Really?
They needed a press office. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
So I set it up for them, and
well, maybe do you know
things,
young Kelly who we'll be seeing on Kelly Summers, who is part of the media team. She does all the video and stuff like that, and she'll be talking to us at half-time.
Amazingly, she's invited you back after the last visit.
Yes, it's very nice. And one real alarm bell that might be going off in your head, Ross, is that we have been invited into the boardroom for a quick sherbet after the game. So, I'll be keeping my eye on Mr. Graham and his behavioural attitude in that sort of...
Well, I'll be doing exactly the same thing. Do you mind if I ask Ross a question now?
Please do.
Because there's other games going on apart from Everton, of course, and Bournemouth. What I was going to ask you, Ross, is because of all this stuff going on this week about the FA Cup and whether it's going to be turned into like a midweek competition and replays are going to be done away with and all of that, do you think that there'll be sort of full, proper first teams being put out by everybody this weekend, or do you think a few people might have more important things to think about?
Is that sort of a segue into Manchester United?
Well, it could be, but I mean, it could be into any number of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the Shrewsbury Town and the Manchester United one, you talk about the issue being made over the replays, and obviously Mickey Mellon has had his say on it as well. If Shrewsbury were able to somehow dig out a result which ended in a draw, obviously they could even beat Manchester United. They'll be hoping, but if they were to set up a replay, they'd be fancying the turnover that would come from the gate receipts at Old Trafford in a replay that could sort of cover their wage bill or surpass it for the year. So that sort of is always in the minds of the lower league teams. And of course, I just hate the fact that we have to go tinkering with the FA Cup. Why? I understand it. I understand the game's grown so much with the Champions League and the Europa League now, with the doorway into the Champions League if you win it, although I never understood the people who sort of get so excited about the English teams maybe being in a chance to win the Europa League and get into the Champions League, because there's a heck of a long way to go and you have to sort of really endure the marathon to get there, and anything can happen. But I think as far as the FA Cup's concerned, it's the most traditional competition that we have, and I just wish that we could find a way to somehow make it more important again. So I'd like to see it sort of changed for the better, and I don't know about removing the replays for that reason, because I'd love to see the lower league teams do very well and be able to, bring in the money, because they're so far removed from the finances of the Premier League, and it gets worse every TV deal. So, I'm sort of torn on the changes. I'd like to see, some good changes made, but obviously I don't really want the tradition of the competition changed.
No, of course. Ross, we've got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. Loads and loads of live TalkSport commentaries coming up this weekend, of course. We'll talk about some more of those a little bit later on. Also coming up in the next hour, Sandra Lee's going to join us from Australia.
Oh, yeah, looking forward to that.
Telling us about the hairy panic, which is a very, very strange story indeed. This is TalkSport.
And also a bit about Sydney nightlife.
Sydney nightlife as well. Who's that?
Hey?
Sydney nightlife.
Sydney the city nightlife, you idiot.
Oh, OK. This is TalkSport.
The FA Cup 5th round, live on TalkSport.
And it's a goal!
Tomorrow from noon, join Matt Smith for a Matchday Live FA Cup special. Get all the build-up ahead of full match commentary of Arsenal versus Hull.
What a goal!
From 3, it's Watford showdown with Leeds.
They're back in the lead!
Followed by Bournemouth versus Everton from 5:15.
Oh my word!
Then Sunday from 1, it's a Sunday exclusive FA Cup special. Here live full match commentary of Blackburn Rovers versus West Ham. Followed at 4 by Chelsea versus Manchester City.
It's a goal!
Then Monday night from 7, it's a kick-off FA Cup special. Full match commentary of Shrewsbury versus Manchester United. The FA Cup 5th round, live on TalkSport.
This is TalkSport. We are the two mics, and of course there will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. There might be another couple of interesting announcements over the course of the weekend as well, and there might even be something on Two Mics TV very shortly to have a look at, but we don't want to give too much away, do we, at this stage?
Well, we are going to make an announcement tomorrow about a development regarding Two Mics TV, and perhaps even the Two Mics themselves.
Yes, indeed.
And what we've been doing in terms of shows, live shows and all that kind of stuff.
Live shows, absolutely right. We've got Manchester already on April the 9th.
We have.
But there might be another one being announced very shortly.
Yes, and that could be in Cardiff.
It could well be.
And also...
You're not going to give too much away, though.
No, a big venue in London coming up.
Yes.
And we are definitely going to be in Rugby in July.
Are we?
Yes.
Oh, good, OK.
And we are going to Tyneside in September.
OK.
But a full, full details on all of that, folks, will appear in the next 72 hours, OK? That's
excellent
great
stuff.
Now, can I say to you, Mike, we must turn our attention to this amazing report, which will appear in tomorrow morning's newspapers, or certainly in one. I'm looking at the back page of the Daily Mirror. £100 million Rue bid. Shanghai offer United £27 million as a fee. And they've offered Wayne, according to this report by David McDonnell, who is very well connected to matters of football in the northwest of England.
He is, isn't he?
£500,000 a week to be the face of the Chinese league.
Now, this is the latest offer, isn't it? Because there's already been a couple that have come in, and a lot of people think that he may actually take one of these offers up one of these days.
Well, I'm not sure how you could refuse that. And I mean that's quite sincerely. You know, Wayne Rooney...
Well, doesn't it depend on whether he thinks he's got a lot more left in him, which by the sounds of the way that people describe his character, I would think he does. He thinks he can still play in the Premier League, doesn't he?
He does, but I think his legs are telling him now that he's got to moderate whatever role he's got in Manchester United's team to be able to achieve that. Now, I have to say that a colleague of ours, a very popular colleague of ours, has been saying for 2 or 3 weeks to me, Mr. Brazil, that his understanding was that if Wayne Rooney breaks Sir Bobby Charlton's scoring record for Manchester United, as Wayne Rooney has already broken the international scoring record and has well over 100 caps, he hasn't beaten David Beckham's 116 yet, or Peter Shilton's 125, but it may well be if an offer like this came in. How could you turn it down? I mean...
Yeah, but money isn't going to be something that motivates him, surely, at this point in his life. I mean, he's got all the money that he could possibly ever need. He doesn't need any more money,
But you build a dynasty on this sort of thing. I mean...
Yeah, but he's already got enough for that, surely. I mean, he's been making, several £1 million a year for a very, very long time, hasn't he?
I think he's been making up to £15 million a year since his last contract was signed 3 years ago. So he has got a considerable amount of money.
Yeah, but that's just for Manchester United. I'm talking about all the other stuff that he's been getting from
totally
various
agree with you. I totally agree.
and all the rest of it.
But the thing is, Mike, I know the figures are mind-boggling, but if it was a £27 million transfer... I mean, you can bet your life that with the agent he's got, Paul Stretford, a very clever man who's guided his career since he was a schoolboy... Yeah. At least 10 or 15% of that.
Haven't you said in the past that he'd always like to go back and play at Everton again, though?
No, I haven't. No, I've never said that. I've never said that. And I've always said I don't think it'd be a very good thing to do.
Really?
Why, he started at Everton. He goes to Manchester United, the best years of his life spent there. Are we then supposed to say, oh, we'll come back when you're just over the hill? No, I don't want him back. I mean, look, I've loved Wayne Rooney all my life. I think he's a fantastic player. And he was.
But you're saying he's over the hill already, though?
No, I'm saying he will be over the hill if he comes back to Everton. Because obviously if Manchester United don't think he's up to it anymore, then you're taking a player who's second best. So, and I think he would agree with that.
But he's got young children. He might not want to have them brought up in China.
He's got three little boys now.
That's right. I mean, he may not want them to have to go.
Or on the other hand, he might say, what a fantastic, world eye-opening event it would be for his children or something like that. China's going to be the biggest country. But all I'm saying is he would take a big cut of the 27 million, which is the transfer fee, and then $500,000 a year on a 3-year contract, another £75 million over 3 years.
I know, it's an awful lot of money.
It's such a vast sum of money.
Yeah, but not everybody is motivated by that kind of money, I suppose, especially when he's already got probably that kind of money in the bank anyway. And also, until somebody big like him goes to China, I'm not sure anybody else will go. So it's a question of whether he's going to be the brave guy that actually kind of heads down there first. Because, yes, they've got some names there, but they haven't got anyone like him, have they?
I think his wife, Colleen, will have a huge influence on what his decision is next. Because, obviously, she's the mother of his 3 children. She's been very influential in shaping their lives. I mean, they've got a £5 million home in Barbados. She seems to spend a lot of time there with the boys, which is brilliant. That's a luxury which they can well afford. That's not a problem at all. And I think she'll have an influence. But the interesting thing about China, did you see this week that Tim Cahill has now left China and gone back to Australia?
Yeah, they cancelled his contract, didn't they?
And do you know why?
Why?
He started writing columns and talking about it in Australia as being ridiculous amounts of money.
Right.
And once the Chinese got this and thought, well, if you don't want it, that's fine, they cancelled his contract.
So it's nothing to do with his performance on the football pitch.
I'm told it was because he started disrespecting.
Well, you see, that's part
principle.
That's part of the problem as well, isn't it? Because you can't go to a place like that and expect it to be exactly like here. And also, Colleen quite likes going to America. They go to Vegas, they go to California, they go to New York quite a bit. Maybe he would rather, and she would rather, he went and played in America.
Maybe, but on the other hand, Colleen seems to have quite an individualistic life herself as it is, as mother of his 3 children, takes them off to Barbados on a regular basis, runs her own fashion business, all that kind of stuff. Who's to say how much time she would spend in China?
I mean, if he was suddenly offered an opportunity to go to China, as it currently is, for, say, the equivalent of what he would be getting, but not that much, say a couple of £1 million to go and be a radio host, but you were told, you can't say this, you can't say that, you would go, wouldn't you?
I would go if I was his age. I'm not sure if I'd go now. Right. That's the honest truth. I mean, at his age, very exciting. I mean, look, I first went to America in my mid-20s. You went even earlier, didn't you? When you were in your early 20s, right?
Yeah.
That's right. It's such an exciting adventure and such an exciting thing to do, to suddenly be strutting around New York and calling up stretch limos and all that kind of stuff.
That's fine, isn't
it? That's
but
exactly
not
what I'm saying.
necessarily when you're in your 30s or your 40s
well,
or your 50s.
Well, he's only just 30. He's only just 30, Rooney. It's still a fantastic opportunity for him. And he might well say, because, I mean, he's done almost everything else you can in a footballer's lifetime. He's played in World Cups. He hasn't had great tournaments, but he's played in them. He's won the Champions League. He's won 6 Premier League titles. He's a record holder of England's goal-scoring record and over 100 caps. He might well say it is a fantastic opportunity. I can't turn it down.
And if he does go, I think he would be the first of then many, because I think if people saw Wayne Rooney going, then an awful lot of other players would follow him.
Well, I think that's why the incentive to go is such an enormous amount of money, £100 million in total, because you see his face. I mean, already you see Beckham's face on posters all over China, but he's not. In fact, funny enough, somebody said to me today, they're going to try and tempt Beckham out of retirement to go and play in China. That's right, I've remembered that now. Somebody told me that today, and I can't remember who it was now. I was talking to somebody, and because Beckham's face is all over China at the moment. Well, replace Beckham's face with Rooney's face, and all of a sudden, Rooney would become a giant in China. He'd become the most famous man who'd ever played sport on Chinese soil.
Provided he was still as good as he has been.
Well, he would be in a Chinese league.
Well, he might be, but we'll have to see about that. This is Talk Sport. We've got loads more coming up, and of course, it's the Porky Quiz Quiz as well on...
boy bands?
The Porky Quiz is not on boy bands.
No, I want to talk to you about boy bands. Yeah.
Have you got any boy bands' greatest hits?
No. But I'll play you a boy band tune and I'll tell you what's going on.
Tell us what's going on. Coming up next, boy bands and Porky.
He's got the numbers on the players, the triumphs and defeats. Got the form on the football weekend and the rumours on the streets. Get all the stats and all the facts with his football form report. Stay on the ball on Friday night with Sky Bet and TalkSport.
Get unmissable analysis and expert soccer speculation on all the weekend's big games. Stay on the ball on Kickoff, the Players Lounge, on TalkSport with Sky Bet. We're making betting better. Visit skybet.com today. Gambleware.co.uk.
Employers across the UK, however small the business, will soon have to offer a workplace pension. Don't ignore the workplace pension. It's the law. Visit workplacepensions.gov.uk.
Live Championship football with Brentford FC. Next Tuesday night at 7:45. The Bees take on Wolves at Griffin Park. Adult tickets are available from £23 and kids tickets are just £6. No booking fees apply online. Buy yours now at brentfordfc.co.uk.
If you're thinking of selling your car, here's a list of things you'll probably want to avoid. Paying to advertise it, taking loads of calls from interested people who have no intention of buying your car, waiting in for strangers to turn up and look at your car, waiting in for strangers to not turn up and look at your car, listening to someone tell you how they saw a better one earlier on. Had enough? Sell your car without any hassle. Enter your reg number now at WeBuyAnyCar.com. Terms and conditions apply. See WeBuyAnyCar.com/info.
UEFA Champions League football live on Talk Sport. Get set for another season of exhilarating European football action. Come on! Featuring full match commentaries of all the Premier League teams in action and updates and goal flashes as they hit the back of the net.
Champions of Europe again.
Plus full-on post-match phone-ins following all the action. UEFA Champions League football live on Talk Sport with Direct Line. For 5-star rated van insurance, search Direct Line Van.
Sunday from 1, full match commentary of Blackburn Rovers versus West Ham. Followed at 4 by Chelsea versus Manchester City. The FA Cup 5th round, live on Talk Sport.
Nothing's gonna change my love for you. You ought to know by now how much I love you. One thing you can't be sure of, I never asked for more than your love. Nothing's gonna change my love for you. You ought to know by now how much I love you. The one that changed my heart.
You can, of course, identify that particular boy band, I presume.
That was Westlife.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only know that it's Westlife because I went and talked to John, our guy on the old buttons there.
The maestro.
The man in charge of the digital operation.
Right.
And neither of us could name a member of
because the trouble
Westlife.
is they all kind of sound a bit similar after a while.
Yeah, of course they do. They all sounded the same. Now, Westlife had a guy called Brian in it, didn't it?
Yeah.
Brian.
Well, I mean, there was Boy's Own, wasn't there, first?
Boy's Own. I thought Westlife was the original one.
And that was Ronan Keating, wasn't it?
Ronan Keating. One of them appeared in Coronation Street as a barman.
Really?
Yeah, he's an Irish guy. But anyway, look, the reason I'm telling you all this, man, is because I always regarded boy bands as just a bunch of dancers. They were very cleverly promoted.
Right.
Some bubblegum factory would write a song for them, and they all get up on stage and literally just move around. I mean, the original boy band was Take That, wasn't it?
Take That, who proved to be actually quite a lot more talented than maybe you would have thought.
Well, Gary Barlow certainly was, because he wrote record music.
And Robbie Williams probably was as well.
Robbie Williams, a very, very talented entertainer.
Right.
As for the other three, I'm not sure about it, but I mean, when they made their comeback after 10 years out of the limelight, they were selling concerts out at Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, they were actually doing better than they were the first time around.
Much better. They'd become a mature group and all that kind of stuff and entertainers. But what I'm saying is the latest figures show that because of the emergence of real talent like Adele, Ed Sheeran, and, believe it or not, the recurring sales of artists like Elvis Presley and Rod Stewart, boy bands have been wiped off the face of the earth.
Have they?
They had such
So hang on, because every time you watch like the X Factor or something
Yeah.
like that, there's all sorts of boy bands and girl bands. Every time I switch it on, which is only for about 5 minutes, there's always some kind of lineup of 4 or 5 guys or 4 or 5 girls.
No, they're flash in the pan stuff. They are literally flash in the pan. The last boy band is One Direction. Right? And
they're having some kind of hiatus, aren't they?
Well, I think isn't Harry Styles going off to do some solo stuff or something like that?
I mean, they're still massive, though. They've still
of course they're massive. Of course,
millions and millions of fans.
I totally agree, but it's all on a burst of enthusiasm by pubescent girls, isn't it?
Well, I suppose so.
And they don't survive into adulthood, if you see what I mean.
Well, Take That have, though.
But Take That came back. I agree with that.
Right.
I've said they're the exception to the rule.
So why are you saying this? Is there some kind of piece of paper that you've got, some documentation of this?
No. I started looking. In my journals, I study sales trends and all that kind of stuff, and I found that boy band sales have just dropped off completely. Right, the solo bestsellers now are taking over again. Okay, and also. Bands who dominated the charts for 30 or 40 years after the Beatles and the Rolling Stones are coming back. Apparently people like Snow Patrol, The Killers, and even Oasis.
I didn't know they'd all gone away, though. I mean, Oasis obviously did, because Oasis would have to reform. Oasis aren't coming back because the Gallagher
No, but they're
brothers...
still selling lots of records.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they are.
Yeah. And what people have done is they've listened to all these boy bands and thought, that's trash music, where there must be some better music around that. And they've gone off and searched out the. Well,
maybe there's some kind of generational change. Maybe the...
Arctic Monkeys are still very popular.
They made a fortune, the Arctic Monkeys. I was really surprised. They made the Sunday Times rich list,
Did they?
Why? Of rock bands, because they've sold so many albums and they've done so many very, very well-paid concerts.
The Kaiser Chiefs.
Yeah.
Right? Kaiser Chiefs apparently were at their most popular 10 years ago, but their sales have now been revived. They had multi-platinum sales in those days. Hang on, the only band to feature in the top 10 best sellers...
Is this a top 10 of a decade or something? Or top 10
of the
year?
decade, yeah.
Right.
Of the decade of the boy bands, going back to the boy bands, in the late 90s and early part 2000, was Coldplay with A Head Full of Dreams. Does that make any sense?
It does, yeah.
Have you heard that?
Yeah, that's their new album.
A Head Full of Dreams?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it's their new album. It's the one they played at the Super Bowl, half-time show.
Oh, is it any good?
It's all right, if you like Coldplay. A lot of people don't, though.
What do Coldplay sound like?
Well, they're kind of what you might call a bit wishy-washy, really.
Right, they're a guitar band?
They are a basic guitar band, yeah.
Now, their lead singer is famous, isn't he? Because he's married to somebody.
Well, he was married to Gwyneth Paltrow.
That's right, yes. What's his name? Chris Martin?
That's him, yeah.
And does he write all the songs?
I think they all write them.
Are there any good songs, though?
Well, a lot of people really don't like them in the same way that people don't like U2 for whatever reason.
Oh, I see, yes. I don't like
mega
U2.
Successful. You don't like U2?
No, not much. No.
Why not?
Well, I
never said that to Steve Lillywhite.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't want to upset Steve.
No.
The record, the U2 record I most like is The Streets with No Name.
Yeah.
And I don't mind a bit of With and Without You.
Oh, okay.
But I can't stand the rest.
Really?
I don't know why. I just can't.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's strange. But no, I mean, Coldplay have become incredibly successful. They've made loads and loads of money. But you know, their music after a while, you can't listen to too much of it, is what I would say. Because after a while, it's kind of a bit bland.
Okay, so I made some inquiries, and I find stuff from Jeff Taylor, Chief Executive of the BPI and Brit Awards. BPI is the British Phonographic Institute.
Yeah, because the Brit Awards, I think, are next week, aren't they?
Are they next week?
Yeah, I
okay.
think
So anyway, what he says, over the last few years, pop has enjoyed a particularly fertile period, and that's tended to coincide with a strong performance from solo acts. So he's talking about Adele now, and who's the other one? Ed Sheeran and all that. He says, there is speculation that the reach of TV talent shows and the rapid growth of streaming have promoted boy bands in the past. But those same factors now are making the emergence of groups predominant again. Others suggest the internet has spawned a whole new generation of bedroom DJs, right? And these people are now finding what they call proper music.
Yeah, and they're just kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah, and just, you know, the boy bands have been cast aside as being pretentious and rather shallow.
Yeah, well, I don't think I'd worry too much about the disappearance of boy bands, and I'm sure there's still plenty of them that are going to make loads and loads of money over the course of the next few years.
Well,
but, I mean, you know, the problem now with, we were talking about Kanye West the other day. He's putting his album out through some particular service, right, which apparently is being pirated all over the place, and so it's not a great success for him, because even though lots of people are downloading it, they're then kind of sharing it with their friends, and so he's not making as much money as he used to do.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Listen, I've got some good news for you.
Have you?
You know all these meals that you make and you put out on Twitter?
Yes.
You know, to try and impress everybody that
Not
you're a
to
sort of
impress
cordon
anybody.
bleu
It's
chef
not-
and
no,
all
it's-
that.
It's not done to impress anybody. It's just done because people like to see what it is that I do, and they also get ideas from it as well.
Get ideas?
Some guy actually the other day said that he was going to take my idea from the Parmesan cheese rind.
Oh, the stuff made of wood?
Yeah, well, not that stuff, no, but not the powdered stuff, but he
Mm.
was going to actually put it in his sauce, and he
Really?
said it was a great success.
Okay.
So he thanked me for it.
All right. Well, anyway, what I was going to say to you is you're actually protecting yourself from damage by eating, you know, these exotic meals of yours, because The people who drink heavily and have most problems are those who don't look after their diet at the same time as drinking.
They get drunk and have kebabs every night, basically.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. But a new survey, which came to me through one of my health journals, says healthier eating saves middle-class drinkers.
Yes, I'm sure that's right.
It says if you're a slim member of the non-smoking, so, you've missed on that one. Yeah. If you're a slim member of the non-smoking middle classes who enjoys a bottle of wine over a healthy meal, very good news. The affluent can get away with drinking too much because they're less likely to have other bad habits and amplify the dangers of alcohol. Now, one of the worst habits is not eating proper food.
And eating at the wrong time as well.
Yes.
And just like eating really, really late. Well, not in my case, really late at night doesn't matter because then I'm coming into work.
Yes, it does say, though, that drinking and smoking makes the smoking twice as dangerous.
They do say that, yeah.
Yes.
It's supposed to make hangovers worse as well.
It certainly is, yeah. And, of course, it congests your lungs, doesn't it? And your lungs can't get the oxygen.
I've got to ask you about the whole smoking scenario on Saturday because if we're going down in the car, we've been stuck in the car for a while, won't we? So we'll have to maybe have a couple of smoking breaks that we might have to set up along the way. Because I don't want to smoke in the car, so I'll have to get out of the car to have a cigarette. So you'll have to stop once in a while.
Why?
Well, because otherwise I'll be in the car for like 3 hours.
Yeah, but I don't smoke.
It'd be like being on a plane.
Well, I don't smoke, so why would I want to stop?
Well, you can stop and stretch your legs and look at Twitter or something while I have a quick cigarette for a couple of minutes. What's the problem?
Look, mate, we're going in a vehicle which is the closest thing on terrestrial Earth to a space rocket.
To a space rocket?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'm certain.
Oh, okay.
So we'll get there pretty damn quick.
I hope you won't be driving it like a space rocket.
Well, of course I will.
I don't want to be
What's the point of
involved
having a car that's got a 3.5 litre Mercedes engine?
I don't want to be involved in any kind of speeding scenario.
I won't be breaking any laws. Don't worry about that. But we will be driving to the maximum allowed and permitted and legal driving limit of speed.
How long do you reckon it's going to take to get down there then?
It will take 2 hours.
2 hours, really? That would be very quick.
Yes, yeah, well, I can do it quickly like that,
well, maybe I can manage 2 hours with that one, but if it's any longer than that, I think we will have to, at some point, pull over.
There is actually a sort of watering hole on the way.
Okay.
Where we could stop and have a shandy or something like that. And that's called the Devil's Punch Bowl.
Oh, yeah, I know that. Yeah.
And you know it?
Yeah, I know that.
Well, you've been there?
I think we've been down that way before, yeah.
Have we been down that way before?
I think so.
Maybe on the way to Gosport, because it's the same route.
It's the same route.
And the Devil's Punch Bowl, actually, I hope it's still open, because I haven't been there for a while, because it used to be on the route to Gosport, because what happened was the A3 was broken up in the middle by going through a village.
And now it's going through a tunnel, isn't it?
It goes through a tunnel.
Right.
They built a tunnel under the village.
So maybe you have to bypass the tunnel to get to the Devil's Punch Bowl.
Oh, no, I know how you do it. Don't worry. I
okay.
saw it all being built.
Oh, right.
And what I'm trying to think of the village now. What's it called? Hang on. I tell you, used to be positioned there. Do you remember Cassidy and Lee?
I do.
The journalist, the freelance agency.
The news agency, yeah.
Dennis Cassidy and Don Lee. Who were legendary reporters who set up an agency in Guildford.
Right.
And then when the property prices got too expensive in Guildford...
They moved out.
They cashed in on the property and they moved to this place. And I'm trying to remember what it's called now.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it either.
Anyway, if you look up Devil's Punch Bowl, that's where it is.
I'll find it.
And I assume the Devil's Punch Bowl is still going. But you've got to remember, what happened is when they built the tunnel, they just shut the road. Because the Devil's Punch Bowl...
so the road doesn't exist anymore?
No, it doesn't exist anymore. It's a natural beauty spot.
Oh, so how are you supposed to get there then?
Well, what happens is, in the old days, you used to drive down the A3, and the A3 ran into this village, and the Devil's Punch Bowl was on the left, and there was a BMW dealer on the right, and there was a petrol station, which I know has closed down.
But it was such a narrow road, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was narrow road, yeah. Now they built the tunnel, so now what you do is you go through the tunnel, and then on the other side of the tunnel, there's a slip road that comes off, and then you go up and you wend your way back around into the village. Right. I should remember the name of it. And that's the only way you can get into the village now.
Well, that sounds like a very good smoking stop.
Yeah,
taking that long to explain it. I could have had about 3 cigarettes in the time you've explained that.
And that is an hour from the start of the journey. So you're going to be okay. If I decide we're going to do that, then you should be okay.
Excellent.
All right?
Marvellous. Well, coming up very, very shortly, we're going to be speaking to Sandra Lee about what's going on down in Sydney, because apparently it's been closed down very, very early at night, and you can't go out and get a drink anymore after about 10 o'clock at night, something like that.
This horrifies me. It's a horrifying report.
It might even put you off going down there again.
It's a horrifying report. I've got to talk to Sandra about it, because if this is true, then I had a plan maybe to go off to Sydney at the end of this year when you take your annual holiday. I was either going to go to New York or Sydney. And if this is true, I can't go to Sydney.
There'd be no point.
Not worth going to.
There would be no point. We'll find out coming up next on TalkSport.
Drive with Adrian Durham and Darren Goff on TalkSport.
Go home with something a lot more entertaining than Bad Breath Brian from IT. Crikey.
I wanted to have a discussion with you about your review of the board next week.
Drive with Adrian Durham and Darren Goff.
Oi! If you're going to stick to the speed limit, get out of the fast lane!
Rage against the football machine. Adrian Durham and Darren Goff. This afternoon from 4.
Go and tell the missus, she'll love it.
On TalkSport.
Do you come from a land down under? Where women go and men plunder. Can't you hear the thunder? You better run, you better take cover.
This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes. The Porky Quiz coming up in the next hour, of course, on Sir Francis Drake. And Porky says he's a very, very big expert on that. So, you're predicting probably about, 8 out of 10 or something like that?
I've been studying the man's journeys around the world for years.
Fascinating character. Fascinating. Questions are coming in very, very shortly. Right now, we're going to go down to our favourite part of Australia and speak to our favourite Australian.
Yes.
Sandra Lee. Sandra, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you two chaps, and good morning to all your listeners.
Indeed, Sandra. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Sandra, listen, normally when I'm speaking to you, I'm so optimistic about the future of Australia, a wonderful country, that brave country, that outdoor country. But I've come across a dreadful report saying that the centre of Sydney is now dead after 10 o'clock at night because some guy who's a religious nut who happens to be the guy who runs New South Wales, Mike Baird.
Are you sure that's a good way to describe it?
Well, this is what I'm being told.
Right.
The Premier of New South Wales has introduced strict drinking laws. Everything closes down at 10, and legendary worldwide known places like Hugo's Lounge, voted Australia's best nightclub 5 years running, and the Fountain Cafe next to the El Alamein water feature that dominates King's Cross have all closed down.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And people here are not calling him quite the religious nut, the Premier of New South Wales, but he is a bit of a happy clapper.
Yeah.
And the Chief of Police is of the same persuasion. And in the last couple of years, in 2014, they introduced tough new drinking laws, which has pretty much turned the CBD and the really sort of the party precinct of Sydney into a bit of a no-go zone. It is dead.
But what was it like before, though? Was it kind of like some of the centre of cities in this country where you can't really go there unless you're completely and utterly out on the town for the night because there's just drunk people everywhere?
No, it wasn't like that at all. It was a lot busier, a lot more partying. I mean, just in recent weeks, the Premier took to his own Facebook page and made an absolute stuff-up when he said that violence and crime in those areas had sort of decreased by 60%. Well, he got his numbers completely wrong. And, in fact, there has been a bit of a drop in alcohol-fueled violence. But this all started on the back of one punch, we call them here coward punches, two coward punch attacks of two young men in King's Cross in the evening. And the Premier and the police and the hospital staff all got together and said that this is all alcohol-driven. However, it was all earlier in the evening. It was all before 9 o'clock. So their argument didn't hold much water at all.
I mean, what I don't understand is, Sandra, seriously, is how the Australian people can put up with this. Sydney's one of the world's great cities. You know, anybody who's been there, anybody who's been to Sydney Harbour, anybody who's seen the magnificence of the Opera House, and I simply can't believe that the character of the Australian person can allow this guy to close down the party lifestyle that Sydney is famous for.
But has he actually closed it down, or is it just in like one section?
No, it's across the state, and in fact, it's mostly in the CBD and in the surrounding areas. So it's where really everybody goes for the nightlife.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that's even more draconian, I think, is that right across the state, so the entire state of New South Wales, you cannot go to a bottle shop now after 10 p.m. and buy a bottle of wine if you're on your way home from a meal, a night out, or, a night at the pictures.
Yeah, that's very bad news for Porky, because, I mean, that's what you like to do most nights, isn't it?
It's extremely bad news. When I was once there, Sandra, what happened was I was staying at the Hyatt on the Rocks and all that kind of stuff, and very late at night.
Very fancy.
Yes, it was, yeah. And about 1 a.m, I remember distinctly, we ordered a car and we all went off to a pizza joint and got loads of takeaway, because I had a suite at the Hyatt, you see, and we got a load of...
Why'd you have a suite?
Well, because I did, because that's the sort of places
Did you get an upgrade,
I stay.
or were you paying for it?
No, I got an upgrade because of who I am.
No, of course.
And we got all these pizzas, and went to the bottle shop and got half a dozen bottles of wine to bring back. And nobody blinked an eyelid. You know, it was so vibrant at 2:00 in the morning. Everything was going on. Got back into the hotel. Said, "Look, do you mind if we take all this stuff up to my suite?" They
Why
said,
didn't you just get
"No,
room
not at all."
service since you were sort of loading it up there?
To be honest, we wanted pizzas, and we thought, well, it'd be better to get them from a Domino's or something like that rather than the hotel.
And 6 bottles of wine.
Yeah, about 6 bottles of wine. Yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah, and so if I did that now, Sandra, I wouldn't be able to. Well, I wouldn't be able to do it. Basically, no.
That's exactly right. You would not be able to do it. And that's what a lot of people are up in arms about. And in fact, you are right. There's going to be a big rally in Sydney on Sunday. And 4 years ago, the same thing happened in Melbourne. And Melbourne tried the same lockout laws. They're known as the lockout laws.
Yeah.
And 17,000 people rallied in Melbourne, and the government saw the error of their ways and reversed the decision. So if there's going to be sort of a similar amount of people here this weekend in Sydney, I'm sure that the government will, have to reconsider their tactics.
Yeah. What about the commercial
Well, I was going to say, by
consequences?
that time, loads of people would be out of business, won't they?
Loads of people have already lost their jobs. You mentioned Hugo's earlier. That was one of the top bars in Sydney, and it was a family restaurant. It was a family pizza restaurant. You get great pizzas there as well. But 70 young people have lost their jobs as a result of that place closing down.
Yeah.
And right around the CBD and around King's Cross and in the eastern suburbs, which is, again, another area of, really good bars and sort of nightclubbing, there's probably been about at least 30 businesses have closed down, and that's not including the associated businesses as well, sort of like, the little convenience stores that stayed open to cater for them.
And the suppliers to all these bars and restaurants as well. And do you know what? This sounds like something you'd expect to happen in Tripoli, in Libya, or Iran, or something like that. It doesn't sound very Australian to me.
It's completely un-Australian, and I think that's why there's going to be a massive rally on Sunday. And I think, a lot of people are saying enough is enough. Stop being such a nanny state. We are an international city.
Yeah, I totally
So what's
agree.
everybody doing in the meantime? Are there sort of, bootleg sort of parties going on in people's basements and stuff?
There probably is. Probably more sort of nightlife in your home life, I guess.
No, but it's a good question. I mean, if people can't party outside in Sydney anymore, what are they doing?
Well, that's right. They're going to have to look for alternatives.
Perhaps more of them will come over here.
Maybe, but not in winter.
No, that's true. Yeah, it's pretty miserable at the moment. Now, let me ask you about this other weird story that we spotted a bit earlier in north-east Victoria, the hairy panic. A very, very strange story indeed about this tumbleweed that's kind of taking over an entire town.
It has. It's this amazing... it is tumbleweed. It's exactly that. And it's not a weed. It's just a grass. And it's being caused by an inordinate amount of rain, which increases sort of the ability of this stuff to grow, and wind. So the winds pick it up and it blows into town, and it depends which direction the wind's blowing, but it's been blowing in the one direction, and the town of Wangaratta is literally up to its rafters in this weed.
It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, I'm looking at pictures here on a story from The Guardian, and it's like waist high for an awful lot of people, and they just can't get rid of it quickly enough.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And some of them I've seen photographs. You might have seen them as well. It's literally up to the eaves of the house. You can barely get out.
I mean, some of this sounds like the day of the Triffids.
It's really strange.
It's almost Martian, like you've been invaded or something. Where did it all come from?
I mean, there's a picture of it there. I'm just showing Mr. Parry a picture of it coming up almost to the top of somebody's window.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no rhyme or reason for it. It normally happens in the summer months, so this is about the right time for it to happen. And it doesn't happen every year. It's completely random.
What happens if you go outside and immerse yourself in it, roll around in it like it was snow or something? Can it kill you? Can it throttle you and choke you?
It's not actually got tentacles.
Throttle you.
Yeah, well, that's what it looks like. It looks very scary.
It can give you a rash if on sort of, your nether regions, if it gets into your nether regions, your armpits or anywhere else like that, you can get a nasty rash. But it's not fatal. It can't kill you.
I'm thinking of better ways of getting a rash.
What?
Sorry.
Pardon? What did you mean by that?
No, I didn't say that. Sorry. Sorry, Sandra.
I can think of better ways of getting a rash.
No, I didn't say that. No. No, that wasn't me. Sorry.
Is anybody kind of try it's a family show, you know.
It's a family show.
Is anybody kind of collecting this stuff to put it in some kind of museum at some point? Because when it's all disappeared, presumably they'll want to actually study why it's been growing so fast and maybe how they can stop it happening again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the scientists already know why it's growing so fast, and I don't think there'd be many people who want to keep it around their properties.
Yeah. Well, what they should do is they should harvest it and chuck it in the sea so that the sharks get a rash and push off.
You could perhaps block up the
Exactly.
harbour with it. Maybe you could use it as like loft insulation because it looks kind of like that, doesn't it?
God, it looks horrible. Terrible. Anyway, Sandra, listen, I tell you what, we would love to keep up to date with this story about Sydney, because I am heartbroken that the party city of the world, Sydney, has suddenly been closed down by a guy who sounds like a mullah, sounds like a maniac who doesn't want people to drink. And I do hope the Australian people will rise up in revolt.
I've never seen you so upset. Well, you're almost as upset as you were about the Penguins the other night.
Well, that's right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's terrible. Oh, yeah. Anyway, I'm relying on the Australian spirit to throw off the shackles of sobriety.
Yeah, we'll find out what happens at this. It's Sunday. You say there's some kind of demo going on.
That's right. It's on Sunday, and I'm with you, Mark. I'm completely behind the move to sort of reopen Sydney or keep Sydney open. That's what the movement's called. So, and there's a Facebook page called Keep Sydney Open, so anybody can go on there and support it. And there's a whole pile of international music stars who have supported it as well.
Great. Okay. Well, we'll check that out, and we'll perhaps talk to you next week.
Just one more question. Sorry, Sandra, because I'm so concerned about this. I mean,
Columbo on this.
No. I remember going to a couple of bars which were right high up in the hotels there on the waterfront at Sydney, right? Cocktail bars, and you could look out over the harbour and all that. Do they all close down at 10 as well?
No, they're the only ones that are exempt from this draconian law. The hotels, the big international change. So I think you're talking about the Hotel Intercontinental.
That's it, yeah.
Which has got one of the best bars in Sydney right up the top and gives you 360-degree views of our beautiful harbour.
Exactly.
So that's exempt. Any hotel is exempt because they have different hotel licensing laws.
Yeah, but do you have to be a resident in the hotels to enjoy the facilities of that bar?
No, you have to be a guest of a resident in the hotel. So you have to be lucky enough to know someone. So pretty much, unless you do know somebody there, you are still locked down.
Oh, dear me, that's terrible.
Shocking
right,
state of affairs.
OK, well, thank you for that dramatic report, Sandra. We're relying on you.
Thank you very much indeed. Sandra, we'll talk to you perhaps next week. Sandra Lee there, our correspondent down in Sydney, which has become a very much more boring place.
Well, it's terrible, isn't it?
I don't know why you're so worked up about it.
Well, I think it's awful. I love vibrant city centres.
Well, maybe by the time you get to go back there, it'll be fine.
I mean, for instance, if I can't go to Sydney, do you know where I'd go?
New York.
No, I'd go San Francisco, actually.
Really?
Yeah, because, I think it's fantastic. You know, have you ever been in the Sir Francis Drake? Because you've been in Sir Francis Drake tonight?
Yes, I think I have been in
Hotel
there,
called
the trouble is I went to San Francisco just after the earthquake, so it wasn't quite at its best, you'd have to say.
Yeah, what do they call it? What's the front in San Francisco called?
Fisherman's Wharf.
Fisherman's Wharf, and that's right, and it's called the Bay.
Yeah, it's beautiful, yeah. I saw a seal in there, actually, in Fisherman's Wharf.
Really?
Which was pretty amazing,
amazing.
I'll tell you more about that. I've got an update for you on my light bulb scenario as well.
Oh, excellent.
Which I have to tell you
about.
The
world needs to know.
Yes, this is Talk Sport.
Life is exciting.
Life is rewarding.
Now imagine your life enhanced with boundless opportunities.
A life where elite training gives you the edge.
Where travel and adventure are yours for the taking.
With roles from anti-piracy to counterintelligence. This is a life where you can realise your potential.
A life where you can make a difference.
All for as little as 24 fully paid days a year. Experience our way of life at Royal Naval Reserve Live. To find out about events in your area, search Navy Reserves.
At Jewson, we're always squeezed full of great deals and bursting with the best stock. And now there's another tasty reason to trade at Jewson. Juice by Jewson is the new programme where you earn points whenever you spend. You can redeem your points for an exciting range of rewards and experiences which get better and better the more you save. You'll also get access to instant benefits just for being a member. Juicy! Start earning Juice by Jewson points today by signing up at juicerewards.co.uk. Juice by Jewson, bursting with rewards. Jewson account holders only. Terms and conditions apply.
Budweiser's Dream Goal is back. Scouting our amateur football nation to find the back-of-the-net beauties that never get celebrated. Send us a video of your ultimate shirt-off screamer for the chance to get your greatest goal seen on TV by millions and analysed by Budweiser's team of expert pundits, including Jamie Redknapp and Jamie Carragher. Upload your dream goal and watch the best at budweiser.co.uk/dreamgoal.
Entry closes 25th of April. Over 25s only. Terms and conditions apply. Please drink responsibly.
Beyond
Bienvenue au Weekend Sports Breakfast avec Michelle Quinn and Georgie Bingham.
Hey! Oh, really, Mickey?
Every Saturday and Sunday morning from 7 on Talk Sport with Renault Pro Plus sensors. It's the breakfast show that cooks up a souffle of sport and a can of chocolat of pre-match build-up.
There's no need to milk it, Mickey.
The hors d'oeuvre to another big weekend feast of football. The Weekend Sports Breakfast on Talk Sport with Renault Pro Plus sensors. Dedicated experts who'll keep you moving. Fantastic.
Talk Sport.
Just got even better.
Start up the engines. On DAB, digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Set the pace.
Working hard, playing hard, and pigs will fly.
Talk Sport.
Mind-expanding sundown sporting discourse for witches, kebab van owners...
You want some chili sauce with that?
...and washed-up burglars too fat to fit through your cat flap.
You great fat thieving lumper lad!
Cult listening worth staying awake for. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll read that again. Oh no, I was right the first time. The two mics on Talk Sport.
Talk Sport, we are the two mics. The Porky Quiz is getting nearer and nearer. It's another Danish band. In fact, I hadn't even heard of this one. It's the Ravenettes, I think they're called.
The Ravenettes?
Yeah, something like that.
I've never heard of them, so they're not very popular, are they?
No, but we're doing it in honour of that Danish team, of course,
exactly.
who won last night against Manchester United.
Exactly. You know, we spend most of our lives watching news channels, don't we?
We do.
We've got sports channels, of course we do, but then, you and I have got a background in sort of news and all that. I can't watch them at the moment, Mike,
because of all this Euro stuff.
It's just non-stop Euro.
It is kind of mind-numbing, isn't it?
I switched on the other day. Mr. Cameron, the Prime Minister, is in Helsinki, and then about 6 hours later, Mr. Cameron's in Brussels.
Yeah, and nothing's actually happening.
Nothing seems to be happening, and then and then he's at Prime Minister's Question Time, so he's obviously back here and all that. But funny enough,
then they talk to a load of people back here to find out whether they're going to be excited about whatever Cameron's doing. But since they don't know what he's doing, they can't actually say.
Exactly, but the news programmes are saturated with it.
Yeah.
The newspapers are saturated with it. But what I find, there is one element of an information cycle in this country who couldn't care less about it, and that's the vast population.
Yeah, the vast population, who also probably don't really know now whether they will stay in or stay out.
Do you know what? I think I probably won't vote because I am so bombarded with the pluses and the minuses of being in or being out.
It might actually be...
I have no idea.
Well, it might be that a lot of people have that same...
I have no idea.
View. I'm in the same place as you are, and actually it might end up being one of the lowest turnouts for a referendum of all time.
Do you know why I think I might not vote?
Yeah.
In case I make the wrong vote. Because I don't understand the issues.
Because nobody's explained them.
No.
Actually.
No.
And I mean, there's been some development over the last couple of hours over in Brussels where supposedly somebody from the European Parliament has said something about Cameron's offer and what's happening, but actually nothing's really happened at all.
Well, what is the offer?
Nobody knows.
I don't know what the offer is.
Nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows how much it's going to be vetoed at some point or other. I mean, it is ridiculous, actually.
Every day I'm reading, Cameron's failed. He's got no concessions. But then I read somewhere else that, it's a massive breakthrough and, this is going to happen. That Europe are now turning our way. They say, yes, you've got to restrict benefits to immigrants. I just don't understand any of it.
No.
And so for that reason, I probably won't vote, because if I did, I'd be voting blind.
Yes. I think once we find out, if we ever do find out what it is that they're actually doing and whether there is a choice, it might be that we could explain it better to everybody than the way the politicians are doing. But at the moment, there isn't really anything to explain.
No. I just don't understand it. A guy called Juncker, right, who is like the boss, is he? He's
one of them, yeah. There's
one of the
thousands
bosses
of them over there.
I read a piece the other day.
Tusk as well, isn't there?
Tusk
well.
Tusk, yeah, Juncker. And the other day I'm reading that, well, here are, and a 2-page spread on the European Council of Ministers.
Yeah.
Never heard of any of them.
Right.
They haven't been elected or voted in. They make policy. But then nobody's explained to me, well, if you get rid of them, what else?
What then happens?
What replaces them?
And also, what policy have they actually made that's made much difference?
I've no idea.
Although I'll tell you something that has made some difference, and that is the EU policy on light bulbs, because I'm sorry to go back to the old light bulb
story.
I'd
like to know the development on this
one of the things I've discovered over the past 24 hours after the conversation I had last night is that these are long-life light bulbs, which are not exactly identical to the ones that I had inside the ceiling, right?
Have you managed to make the connection yet?
No, because it turns out that actually they are not quite as deep. The you know, the little bit at the end,
screw bit,
not the screw bit, but at the end of the screw bit, there's a little contact.
Yes, I know.
And on the old bulb,
to complete the circuit,
on the old bulb, it's kind of a pointy contact, but on these new ones,
it's a flat one.
It's literally flat.
Right.
And so
it won't reach.
So it won't reach.
But you know you can get over that, don't you?
Well, what I have to do apparently is to put some kind of new fitting in order that they will go in there.
No, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, you do.
No, you don't. I can tell you how to get over that.
How do you do it then?
Buy yourself a carton of silver foil.
Yeah.
Pull it out.
Yeah.
Wrap the silver foil up into a little ball.
That doesn't sound very safe to me.
No, honestly, and it breaches the gap between.
I'm not doing that.
Between the flat end of the bulb.
Yeah, I'll end up setting fire to the place.
No, you won't. And the connection. No, you won't.
Well, I spoke to a lighting expert.
It completes the circuit.
Well, I spoke to a lighting expert who said, well, you can come to our shop because it was a specialist shop, and he said you can get one of these fixtures and you can just put it in. It's quite easy to do.
Yeah.
And I said, well, hang on a second, I'm not an electrician. I don't think I should be doing that kind of stuff.
No, use the silver foil.
And he said, well, in that case, he didn't suggest silver foil. He said, in that case,
I'm suggesting silver foil to you because it'll stop you having to go and buy a load of new bulbs and all that.
Well, no, I've got new bulbs, but I just can't make them work. So all I need
because they're the wrong bulbs.
No, they're not the wrong bulbs. They're the only bulbs I can get to go in the hole.
Well, in that case, you've got the wrong fitting.
They're the right bulbs, but it's the old fitting, so I now have to change the fitting.
Well, I'd just stick the silver foil in. That'll work.
That's a ludicrous idea.
No, it's not. It's not.
I won't be in one night because I'll have set fire to the place.
No. We won't set fire to anything. All it's doing is bridging that gap for the connection between your bulb and the fitting.
No, that is definitely not the answer.
Remember years ago I told you about that car I had to sell when it was falling to pieces?
Yes, when you didn't tell the guy that bought it that actually it was falling to pieces.
Yeah, then some mug came and bought it. Well, the mechanic who I got to patch it up, who was a mate of mine who worked at a local Vauxhall dealer, who did this for me on the side.
Is this the guy that poured the coal into it or something like that?
No, that was sawdust.
Oh, sawdust
into the block.
Right.
Which is where you put the oil normally.
I'm not doing some kind of cowboy operation on the place I live.
No, but in order to... Because both the big end and the little end were going,
right.
You put the sawdust in the block to nullify the noise of the big end going, and to keep the small end going, and I don't know the difference between a big end and a small end.
But this is only a temporary fix in order for you to carry out your kind of weasel-like sales
that's right.
scenario, right?
Yeah, he told me that he put silver foil paper in the top of the pistons,
right.
Because the small end is the top of the piston, but there wasn't enough power to get the piston up to the bit where it sparks on the spark plug and then pushes back, which is the principle of the internal combustion engine.
But didn't you also tell me that after you sold the guy the car, you saw him actually broken down about half an hour later?
Round the corner, 10 minutes later.
So that wasn't really a great plan, then, was it?
But he stuffed the top of the piston chamber with silver foil,
right?
So that there was a spark. But, of course, that only lasted until the silver foil paper wore out, and that only lasted 2 streets.
Well, no
until
doubt.
The guy got round the corner.
If I put silver foil inside a light fixture, presumably it would get hot at some point, and it might actually set fire to something.
No, it wouldn't. Of course it would. It's like metal. Metal doesn't get hot when you put a light in it.
Yeah, it does.
All right, well, silver foil does, but it doesn't blow. It doesn't burst into flames.
Well, you don't know that, though, do you?
Well, I do know that. Yeah, I do know that. I can tell you that's the best advice.
Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get an electrician.
Well,
in.
I think
the point
you're
is, because the problem is now, though,
making trouble for yourself.
The 2 old bulbs, which are still working, right?
Yes.
I can't change those fixtures because otherwise the old bulbs won't work. So I'm going to only have to have new fixtures on one light in each room, an old fixture on the other one. It's very, very frustrating. And that's all down to this crazy EU rule that you had to have these kind of long life bulbs.
And by the way, the long life bulbs are not that long life, they've found now. And also they're dimmer, and because they're dimmer, you need more of them. So you're burning just as much energy. It's a ridiculous European policy. But the problem is, if I vote the wrong way in Europe, it might get even worse. I don't know what to do.
But it might get worse if you vote the right way as well.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah.
Very, very confusing.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the 2 mics, and of course, coming up in the next hour, it is the Porky Quiz on Sir Francis Drake. Now, I don't normally find these kind of messages to read out to you, but it's something complimentary, so I guess I should.
Great.
And it's from Paul in Hockley. He says, I've been a stern critic of Mr. Parry's in the past, so it is to his credit that he quite rightly pointed out that Manchester United have not denied that Jose Mourinho will be taking over at Old Trafford.
Yes.
I too have been pointing this out to my Man United friends, so it's good to see a top journalist having his finger on the pulse by pointing this out.
Well, that's very kind.
Well done, Mr. Parry, he says.
Thank you very much indeed. And what's that boy's name?
Paul in Hockley.
Paul in Hockley. I have to say, good on you, mate. I admire your perception.
He hasn't had many opportunities, as he says in the past, to do that. Hey, what about your nemesis, not nemesis, but the guy that you said first was going to be great and then said now was going to be terrible, Gary Neville?
Gary Neville, well...
Did you see the score last night?
Yeah, I did. He was 3-0 up after 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's a record score in the Europa League, I think, isn't it, for Valencia?
For Valencia, certainly, yeah. And what we have to say is that he did say in that run of 8 games when he couldn't win, don't worry, I know I've got it right. I've just got to get it to work.
And he said that in his experience, these kind of periods will always pass.
Yes, that's right.
But except that there were those who were defending him throughout that bad period, and you weren't one of them.
Well, no, it wasn't that I wasn't defending him. What I was saying is, I was saying that he's I said at the start, I said if he wanted to be the Dalai Lama, he could be, because he's such a positive guy and so good at doing things. I never once doubted his ability to bring it round.
But when it started going wrong, I mean, both of us thought, well, perhaps he's made a big mistake here.
Well, not really. I don't think I ever said that.
I think you did.
No. I think what I said was, don't worry. He will get it right. He's that sort of guy. He's not going to quit. He's not going to walk out on it. Oh, I did. I think I was a consistent supporter of Gary Neville because I like the fact that he's a property developer as well.
Right.
And us property developers have to stick together.
Well, I'm not sure if everyone will remember that, but maybe we'll have a look at what Twitter says about all of that. Now, you've got about 20 seconds to tell some people about what's on their Two Mikes TV. What's out there?
Two Mikes TV, our contribution to the culture of Vera. Oh, pet, have you buried your husband at the bottom of the garden?
This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, of course, and quite a few tweets coming in suggesting that your silver foil advice may not exactly be the safest thing for me to do. So,
well, I didn't say it was safe. Well, I said it's a short-term solution.
Well, yeah, but I'm not looking for a short-term solution.
Let there be light.
Well, there is light, but
let there be light. That's what I say.
There is light. There's just not as much light as there ought to be. So
let there be more light.
I'm going to go down the very sort of tried and tested route of actually getting somebody in who knows what they're doing.
I wouldn't recommend anything dangerous, Mike. I mean, for instance, you think that, an old pal like you, 30 years in the knowing, I would subject you to the risk of dozing off in a bladderated coma, only to wake up and find your kitchen on fire.
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to do that. But also, I mean,
mind you, if it did, it would just be unfortunate.
I don't leave the lights on anyway when I go for a little nap. But
no,
I mean, a lot of people
don't go for a nap. You go into coma.
No,
and when you go into bladderation coma, you don't have the ability to turn the lights off.
No, it's not possible for me to do that at all. Here's one from Spencer. He says, "Have I entered the twilight zone? You two are being very nice to each other. It makes a nice change." I didn't think we'd been that nice to each other.
I don't think we've been that nice to each other. That'll soon change on Saturday.
I mean, you've just said that you wouldn't be too concerned if my flat went on fire. So I mean, that's not.
No, I didn't say that. I said I wouldn't tell you anything that was dangerous in case your flat went on fire. But having said that, if the flat did go on fire, it would probably be because of your delinquent lifestyle.
Indeed, yeah.
And it's far more likely it would be a cigarette butt dropped out of your fingers when you entered into bladderation coma.
Well, that's never happened to me.
Rather than a light blowing up. You know what I mean?
To me. Stephen Romford says it's absolutely shocking advice from Porky, which is quite clever if you think about it.
Shocking advice. I like that. Well done, my friend. Listen, I would say to everybody out there, don't do this at home, OK?
Yes.
That was a plan, a solution, a short-term solution for MG only. I don't want anybody else to take that advice, thank you.
No, exactly right. Now, is there anything else we need to know about the journey as far as tomorrow is concerned?
The journey?
Yeah, the journey that we've talked about, the journey to Bournemouth.
What about it?
Well, is there anything else we need to know about it? I mean, should I be checking for any roadworks? Because you know how we're often stymied by roadworks. Are you sure the road is clear? Have you researched that?
I'll tell you the worst bit of the road. When you come off the A27, just after we've come across the top of the New Forest,
right.
Turn left.
Where there are no trees, of course.
Where there are no trees. Yeah. We won't see any trees when we go through the New Forest, there aren't there,
not in that bit, anyway.
No, not in that
People
bit.
have said there are trees in other parts of it.
Well, they're not in that bit, believe me.
Right.
Now, then you turn left down the A, whatever it is. It takes you straight into Bournemouth.
From one of those roundabouts.
Yes, actually, it is. Yeah, it's the first major roundabout.
Yeah, I know the one, yeah.
On a big level, high level, like that.
Right.
And we got the slip road to the top, OK?
Yeah.
The rest of the A27 goes down to Dorset. Now, as we turn left there, the last 2 times I've done that, and that's over a space of probably 2 months, you're down to 40 miles an hour for the first 8 miles.
Right.
And there is not a single sign of a workman or a work vehicle.
Oh, so it's like a temporary speed limit, you mean?
It's a temporary speed limit with the yellow cameras, they look like vultures.
Yeah, the ones that are very high up.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And the
variable speed cameras.
Variable speed cameras. The road is coned off, and they're not called variable speed, they're called... what are they called, these cameras?
They were called variable speed
cameras.
No,
variable because they're varying the speed, but they are called something about what they do is they check your average speed.
Maybe they're called average speed cameras.
Average speed cameras between one point and another.
Yeah.
So you can't just sort of go past them and then burst into 70 or 80 miles an hour.
No, because they time you. If you're going 40 miles an hour,
that's right.
This is how long it should take you to reach the other end.
Cameras, that's right. That's what they are called.
Have you ever been done by one of those?
No, I haven't. Right. No, I've been very careful. I haven't been done for speeding for 10 years.
Really?
I got done minimally because one of those pesky temporary speed vans, police speed vans, was on the side of the A3M. That's the very last bit of the A3 going into
coming
Portsmouth.
into London. Oh, going the other way.
Portsmouth, as you hit the coast, and you're dazzled by the coast. You see the sea, and you think, oh, it's beautiful and all that. And then a despicable act by the chief constable of that part of the world. Hampshire.
Aren't they supposed to put like a sign up to say that it's there?
They don't. If they're supposed to, there certainly wasn't one. And I flashed past and thought, no, that couldn't have been a camera, would it? And some policeman had nothing better to do but sit in the back of his van with a camera pointed out at the traffic. Fortunately, I was only going at 72 miles an hour.
And what was the speed limit?
70.
Oh, well, that's all right.
And so if you don't exceed the speed limit by 10%, you can go on a speed awareness course.
Right.
So I got on the speed awareness course.
Have they given up on that idea that you can actually have a bit of sort of leeway then if you're under 10% over it?
I don't know, but I mean, I think you can do 72 and not be done. So I must have been doing 75.
Well, also
or
technically,
like that.
every speedometer is set sort of 2 or 3 miles an hour higher than it says. Is that not right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that if you're in your speedo, if you're doing 72, you're probably only really doing 68, 69.
I didn't know that. But anyway, the point of my story is. So I get this thing saying, and it's a complete racket. It means that you've got to pay 87 quid for the speed awareness course instead of 3 points and a fine, which most people go for. Some of these speed awareness courses, by the way, are run by the AA.
Yeah,
supposed to be the friend of the driver, aren't they?
Well, they're meant to be. Yeah. Well, yeah, but they also recommend that you don't break the speed limit.
Yeah, of course they do. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, and
so did you have to go on one then?
Yeah, I went on one. Yeah, it was in a hotel in Portsmouth.
Right,
the Holiday Inn. God knows why they can't put it in a government building we've already paid for. They've got to hire a big room in the Holiday Inn.
Yeah,
and you sit there with all these other people. A lot of them are real dorks. You know what I mean?
And is it a full day course?
It's about 3 hours with a break in the middle for a cup of tea and a biscuit.
Right.
How ridiculous is that?
I can't imagine you enjoying that at all.
I not only did I not enjoy it, I rebelled against it.
Did you?
So this guy starts talking up front like a college lecturer, and he starts, trying to tell you about the dangers of driving.
And you're all sitting in like individual desks or something like
No, he's sitting in rows. It's like watching a school play.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I immediately decided to impose my standing on this. And I said to him, excuse me, you are...
They always have one person like that, I'm sure, in every class.
They do. And at the time, there was a lot of speculation that the government were going to put up the speed limit from 70 to 80 on motorways. So I said to him, excuse me, I said, aren't we wasting our time listening to you talking about the dangers of driving over 70 miles an hour? And he got really bridled. He was a Welsh guy, and what do you mean by that, sir? I said, well, it's nonsense. Oh, and why are you telling me it's not? I have been doing this job for 25 years. I said, yeah. I said, well, you're going to have to rewrite your books, aren't you? What do you mean? And I said, well, have you not read the Times this morning? Moron. I didn't call him a moron, but I regarded him as a moron.
Were you standing up at this point?
Yes, I was.
Grandstanding?
Yes, I was, yeah, I was, yeah. Hoping to build up support within the room.
And presumably they were all looking the other way.
Well, they didn't look very comfortable.
No.
And so I said, well, if you didn't read the Times this morning, you won't be aware of the fact that the government are now seriously considering putting the speed limit up. It's something they've since dropped, by the way. This is about 3 or 4 years ago. Putting the speed limit to 80 miles an hour. So what's the point in you telling us that it's dangerous to drive over 70 if you're masters, the government, the public money that comes out of our taxes to pay you to talk this drivel to this room is actually out of date.
And this was you warming to your theme at this point?
Oh, no, he was getting angry. And he said, I don't think you have any right to put that... my Welsh accent's gone, actually, because I was doing Vera earlier.
Yeah, you're doing Vera very well.
Yeah. Hello, boyo. What gives you the right to talk like that? And all this kind of stuff. I said, look, I don't you not agree that there's a moratorium on at the moment about increasing the speed limit? He said, that is not my concern. My concern is that the speed limit is 70 miles an hour, and I will tell you of the practicalities of driving a car at that speed.
Right.
And you will sit down and listen to me.
You have to do that, presumably.
And I said, well, no, before I do that, I said, there's something else you've missed. Oh, is there? There's something else I have missed?
It must have been very, very close to chucking you out of the thing.
In my 25 years of experience of speeding drivers like you're telling me I've missed something? I said, yeah. I said 25 years ago, when you started this job, right, cars were built like Ford Cortinas. I said, I drive a Jaguar. I said, it's a very expensive car.
Further making yourself even more popular with the rest of the room, right?
Yeah, they all drive sort of second-hand heaps of junk.
Jalopies.
Yeah, that's right.
They must have hated you, though. You must have felt the hate. But you must have felt the hate in the room at this point.
They were all parked outside, 6-year-old Toyotas and all that sort of, junk. So
6-year-old Toyotas.
Yeah,
what's wrong with a 6-year-old Toyota?
Well, nothing if you're a sort of person who drives it, but I wouldn't be seen dead in one. Anyway, so he said, and your point is? I said, well, my point is this. I said, my car's got a 3-litre engine, so the brakes on it are massively superior to the brakes that were on a Ford Cortina 25 years ago when you started this ridiculous job of warning people about speed. I said, don't you realise that when the speed limit goes up from 70 miles an hour to 80 miles an hour, the economy will improve by a whole 1% of growth? I said, that will keep you in work for another 10 years.
You must have thought he was listening to one of your shows.
Maybe,
at this point.
I said, that'll keep you in work for another 10 years, so you should be advocating
So what happened for the rest of the 4 hours then after you had to sit down and listen to him? Did you have to pipe down at that point?
Well, I mean, he couldn't answer my questions, and I just got bored talking to him because he was such a thickhead.
Yeah, but then you had to sit there for the rest of the 4 hours.
I did,
Right.
and play stupid games like guessing the stopping distance of a car travelling at 40 miles an hour in a 30-mile area and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And did you get any of them right?
No, it was all drivel. It was drivel.
Well, it's good to know, though. It's good to know. You didn't learn anything from
I
this
didn't need
course.
to know.
You obviously didn't learn anything from this course, then.
Well, I told him that my car was so good that it was better than his figures. I said, so what do you think? So he said, so this car will take 300 feet to stop. And I said,
you think that your car would stop inside the
absolutely
the parameters set by the government?
I said to him, I put my hand up again, and I said, excuse me. I said, what are your figures based on? He said, on, engineering, educational and mathematical research. I said, no. I said, what sort of car stops over that distance? He said, what do you mean? I said, my car's a superior car. My car will stop in 200 feet, not 300 feet, because it's got better brakes. It's got disc brakes and all that. I said...
If I'd been him, I would have just given you some points on your licence and told you to leave.
I said, you are operating for the lowest common denominator, i.e. a wreck of a car about 6 years old with worn-down brake pads. I said, my car's a superior car. It can stop much more quickly. Why aren't you catering for me? Why am I sitting here... Anyway.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
You're lucky you didn't get clapped in prison or something for that. But we'll find out some more of Porky's stories, of course, coming up very shortly. The Porky Quiz is only 15 minutes away. This
Hooray!
is TalkSport.
Employers across the UK, however small the business, will soon have to offer a workplace pension. Don't ignore the workplace pension. It's the law. Visit workplacepensions.gov.uk.
Park your preconceptions of the electric car. Explore the cars that are redefining the future of driving. From the innovative BMW i3 to the pioneering BMW i8 sports car. To test drive the range, visit the BMW Become Electric event between the 25th and 28th of February. Find your nearest BMW i agent at bmw.co.uk/becomeelectric. Test drive subject to status and availability.
Just when you thought it was safe to turn on the radio, here comes another round of Sounds Fantastic. Can you identify this sound? Well, that's a didgeridoo full of wombats playing their credit cards like wobble boards. Now, how about this sound? Go compare. Sounds like that fantastic website where you can check out a whole shed-load of credit cards to make sure...
subject to status and lending criteria.
You get the one that's right for you.
From loans to plastic, they're quite fantastic. Nothing quite compares to Go Compare.
Sounds fantastic.
Football to Amsterdam 2016 is a 2-day cycle challenge to help beat prostate cancer. Visit prostatecanceruk.org/Amsterdam to find out more.
If you fancy a flutter on the football, a gamble on the golf, a double on the darts, or a treble on the tennis, you're in luck. Get closer to the action every weekend with Betway's Man in the Know on the Weekend Sports Breakfast with Georgie Bingham and Mickey Quinn. Bringing you all the form on the football, the going at Goodwood, the tries at Twickenham and the overs at the Oval. Every Saturday and Sunday morning from 7 on TalkSport. With Betway. For the latest offers, head to betway.com.
Hawksby and Jacobs on TalkSport. Discreet made-to-measure afternoon radio for the discerning listener.
Never mind the quality, feel the width.
This afternoon from 1 on TalkSport.
There's not some kind of festival coming up this year, is there?
No.
This week?
No, there's no festival. You won't believe this. And this is something which somebody rang me up and talked to me about this morning. And it was, in fact, the person who spoke to me about it was a religious affairs correspondent.
Oh, yeah.
And I
So
said...
they still have those, then?
Yeah.
I'm surprised they've still got them.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. And I said, you sure you got the right number? You know, I know this person well, known him for years. And they said, yeah, you won't believe this. Said the bell ringing. Yeah, what about it? They want to make it a sport.
Right.
Let's make it a sport. Are you mad? I said, no. Like, honestly, bell ringing...
Why would you want to make it a sport, though?
Well, apparently, the idea was put forward in a magazine called Ringing World, right?
Is that one of the ones that you get or not? Maybe you don't get that
I don't.
one.
No, I don't.
Well, maybe you should start getting that one and add it to your list, otherwise you'll miss these kind of stories.
It's so blinking obscure.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you? But the problem is that bell ringing is called campanology.
It is.
There is a huge shortage of campanologists in this country because it seemed to be something that's going out of fashion and only done by old people. So what they want to do is... The magazine Ringing World has said that to attract young people, could we possibly reclassify campanology and bell ringing as a sport?
Is this all part of the church trying to kind of get more people to come to the church?
Yes, absolutely.
We talked about that earlier in the week, didn't we? Very few people are actually doing that.
Absolutely.
But how can it be a sport, though?
I'll tell you why they are going. What they're going to do in their reference. Sorry, in their submission to the Olympic authorities. They say
they want to make it Olympic sport.
Yes.
Really?
They want to make it an Olympics. Well, it's got to be accepted, hasn't it, by the international Olympic movement if it can be classified as a sport in any way.
Right.
And what they're saying is, and they say they've got the evidence to back this up, is that bell ringing is more strenuous and uses more muscles than weightlifting.
Well, it might be, but so does kind of moving people around in removal vans. It doesn't make it a sport, does it? I mean, there's lots of things that are more difficult to do in terms of lifting and in terms of movement than weightlifting.
Well, they say that other sports which have applied for Olympic status, like angling, which didn't get it, I think, did it?
I don't think it did, no.
It, doesn't use any muscle power at all. But
that's not true. I mean, you do need muscle power to reel in relatively large fish.
But the one that they really cited was they said shooting. Shooting is an Olympic sport and requires very, very little physical exertion.
That's one of the ones that everybody uses as an example. Because shooting, I mean, it's a skill, really, more than it is a sport.
Yes, it is, yeah. But what that's done is, of course, now in the world of sport and all that, they said, what, campanology? I mean, by the way, have you ever been in a belfry and seen the ropes and all that kind of stuff? Because I have, actually.
I think I have seen it done,
I have, and I've seen it done.
Very noisy.
It's very, very noisy. They wear earmuffs now these days when they do it, because it is a very noisy environment. But you can be literally lifted off your feet. You can be lifted 12 feet in the air. And you better not let go of the rope, because the rope is effectively rolled around a huge wooden beam at the top to which the bell is attached. And the way you make the bell ring is to swing that from left to right, and it's almost a bit like working up a hula hoop. You know what I mean?
It's a lovely sound, and it's one of those sounds that kind of makes you think of England whenever you hear it, really, isn't it? But I mean, an awful lot of churches now have got automatic bell ringing machines.
Yeah, they have, unfortunately. But they want to get back to the old style of the campanologist.
Yeah, but I think if the Olympic organisations decide to allow this in as a sport, then that'll be the beginning of the end of the Olympics, won't it?
Well, I don't know, really.
Or possibly all the people getting eaten by the piranhas out in Brazil.
What they did is they went and looked in the files to see what other sports had tried, either successfully or unsuccessfully, to get in. And they found that baton twirling had been submitted. Angling, we've talked about. Darts, which never got there. Yoga never got there. Quoits.
Quoits? Isn't that game where you throw the hoops over the sticks?
That's a form of boules, isn't it?
Well, but with hoops, I think, rather than balls.
Yeah, I think you're right, to wrap them round poles, The English Bridge Union wanted...
Oh, yeah, that was the most recent one, wasn't it?
I think that was the most recent one. Wanted to try and get into the Olympics, OK.
But didn't Sport England come out with some kind of definition of sport during that whole argument about the bridge debate, when they said that this is our definition of what a sport is? Because everybody always has a row about it.
Well, what happened was when Bridge applied, they were followed very, very quickly, within hours, by people who represent Scrabble, who wanted that to be an Olympic sport. And then a statement had to be issued by the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, and said the judgment closed the door for other similar mind games such as chess.
Yeah,
they turned it down.
And poker, presumably, as well.
I don't know if poker was ever...
You can't put that in the Olympics, can you? I mean, that's madness.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the subtext to all of this is that these people want funding from Sport England and they want to get charitable status and all that kind of thing so that they can actually get more money, don't they?
There's even been a claim from the computer internet industry that they're not included in Olympic sports now and that they are the latest form of competition.
Who?
Computer internet games.
Oh, games. Oh, yeah. Well, you can't have them in the Olympics either.
I wouldn't have thought so.
That's ridiculous.
Cheerleaders in the US were angered by a 2010 court ruling that the pursuit did not constitute a sport at all, arguing that they argued it should have the same status as volleyball. But they said no. So, I mean, I think it's ridiculous.
I can't see any kind of justification for putting that in the Olympics at all.
Do you know what another reason why they think it's justifiable?
Why?
The Ancient Society of College Youths is the College Youths, Y-O-U-T-H-S. Youths,
right, as in youths.
Yeah,
right.
Is the world's most famous bell-ringing society. It was founded in London in 1637, a long time before any of the other sports, which now constitute the Olympic Games, had even been invented. So they say that...
But I thought the Olympic Games came from ancient Greece.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about modern Olympic events like the shot put and throwing the discus.
Dressage. And
dressage and the discus and all that kind of stuff, OK?
Right.
It also says that the problem is that there is a bell-ringing community, but they don't actually like ringing the bells for church services. They just go and practice in the evenings and that kind of stuff. And they're not interested in the...
Well, they don't want to work on Sundays?
No, they don't want to work on Sundays and not interested in the religious side of it. I know. It's when bell ringing began, it was very much seen as a sport. Say the guys who are trying to get into the Olympics.
I mean, it's not much fun to watch either, is it? Really?
It was listed.
I mean, what would you do watching bell ringing?
I don't know.
I mean, what would you be looking out for?
I don't know, the bells twirling at the top, I suppose, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
if you could see them.
No, I mean,
mostly you can't see them.
If people were being judged on stuff, I mean, what do you judge them on?
Mostly you can't see them because they're in the belfry.
Well, exactly. But how could it become a sport if nobody would want to watch it? That would be the other thing.
When I was a kid, if my mum thought somebody was a bit of a nutter or a bit off,
somebody to be avoided.
Yeah, to be avoided. She said, "Oh, he's got bats in the belfry." That's the famous expression.
Yes, I think I've heard that one.
Yeah. Anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is that. In a 17th century guide to gentlemen's pastimes and pursuits, they listed shooting, fishing and bell ringing.
Bell ringing as an active bell ringer?
As an active bell ringer.
Well, I guess there wasn't much to do in those days.
And they're saying that as the other two, fishing and shooting, are now accepted as a sport, they think that campanology should also be included.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think that is as mad an idea as something you would come up with.
Yeah. Here, there's a guy here who's contributed to the debate. He's got involved in social media, and his name is Richard Humphreys, and he's captain of the bell-ringing tower at St George's in Easton in Gordano, near Bristol. He says, I've been ringing peals lately, and it takes huge effort and several hours to ring over 5,000 changes. That, to me, is a sport. Several hours. So I suppose the sport is you have to, like gymnasts have to go through set routines to prove that they're very good gymnasts, and they have to Peru in.
Yeah, but watching gymnastics is something which a lot of people enjoy doing because it's easy to see how good they are. But with bell ringing, you're just standing there.
Well, he says over a period of several hours, you can ring over 5,000 changes in the sound you're making in the bells.
It doesn't sound like something
that's the way it's judged. It's judged on the sound of the bells.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound like something Sky's going to put on TV, does it? Watching bell ringing for hours and hours on end just to see whether 5,000 changes can be rung.
Mr. Humphreys goes on a second note to say that bell ringers these days use computer software to analyse the complex changes and noises made by the bell ringing to perfect our timing and technique. We do it just as assiduously as sports teams.
So they're looking. So they're sitting there with their MacBook Pro, a bit like somebody's DJ.
Whatever MacBook Pro is, I mean, I don't know what MacBook Pro is.
It's a laptop that Apple makes.
Oh, is it? Right, OK. Yeah, well, I'll take your word for that one.
Thank you very much indeed. Coming up next, if you're ready, Mr. Parry, it's time for the Porky Quiz.
I'm ready.
Way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises early in the morning. Shave his belly with a rusty razor, shave his belly with a rusty razor, shave his belly with a rusty razor early in the morning. Way
time for the Porky Quiz. That music will put you in the mood for a bit of seafaring, I dare say.
That's a sea shanty.
It is.
And, of course, as I come from the world's most famous naval port, Portsmouth, well, Gosport, the other side of Portsmouth
the other side
Harbour,
of it,
where the munitions store was for the British Empire, I feel very confident about this one.
Well, I'm very, very pleased you're confident. Let's see how you're going to get on. Of course, as per usual, we've got 10 questions, all with answers not chosen from any kind of multiple choice or anything like that. If you get one right, you will hear this sound.
Yeah, I've got a chief duck. I've got a chief what?
Chief duck, I think that was.
OK, right, fine.
If you get one wrong, you'll hear this.
I find you guilty of mutiny.
Ah, right, OK. That's probably from The Bounty.
It may well be.
Yeah.
Are you ready for question number 1?
I certainly am.
How many brothers did Sir Francis Drake have?
Let me see. He was... right, thinking aloud. Big families in those days, and lots of kids died before they got to maturity. I know the answer to this one. He had 11 younger brothers.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I've got a chief duck.
Hey. Very suspicious, that.
Hey.
Very suspicious. Question number 2.
Yes.
Which incident in 1568 caused Drake to seek revenge on Spain?
That was his first military campaign over in South America, just off Panama. I think it was when they tried... I think he was with his uncle on his boat, and they tried to invade a place called Luampa, and unfortunately they were repelled by the Spanish, and he vowed revenge evermore and took spectacular revenge over the next 20 years.
I'll give you half a point for that.
All right.
Because he was on board the ship of the Hawkins family.
That's right, yeah.
But he was in a Mexican port of San Juan de Ulua.
OK.
So I think you got the...
I said Luampa because it was known as that as well.
You got the general gist of it right, so half a point. 1.5 out of 2. Very good so far. Question number 3.
Yeah.
Where was Drake knighted by Queen Elizabeth?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. He went off around the world in 1577, and he went to the Americas first, and it's thought he was the first man to get from the north-south east side of South America to the west via Cape Horn, OK? And then he made his way back by the westerly route, and he got back in 1580, and he brought back so much treasure... So much booty that Queen Elizabeth had to found the Bank of England in which to keep it.
To put it all in, yeah.
To put it all in. And that started the British economy, started the British Treasury.
That's got nothing to do with the question.
He was then knighted... I think it was at Hampton Court Palace.
Incorrect.
No!
I find you guilty of mutiny.
It was on board his ship, the Pelican.
Yeah, of course it was.
Also known, of course, as the Golden Hind in 1581.
Yeah.
Still 1.5 out of 3. Question number 4.
Yeah.
What was Drake's rank during the battle with the Spanish Armada in 1588?
He was Vice Admiral.
Correct.
Thank you!
Yeah, I've got a chief duck.
Whoa,
2.5 out of 4.
whoa.
Going very well. Question number 5.
Yes.
In 1581, Drake became mayor of which English town?
Right. Now then. Now, thinking aloud here, of course, his base for his boat was Plymouth, but he was a boy from Tavistock in Devon. And if that was his hometown and he went back and his 11 brothers were still around, I'm going to have to say Tavistock.
Incorrect.
No!
I find you guilty of mutiny.
It was actually Plymouth.
It was Plymouth?
Yeah.
Well, why didn't you give me some sort of a look?
Well, why would I give you a look? I'm not allowed to give you a look.
I outlined the debate. I said it was either Plymouth or Tavistock.
Well, yeah, but you didn't get a choice there. It's either one or the other.
That's an outrage.
2.5 out of 5. Question number 6.
Yeah.
Where is Drake's drum?
Drake's drum. Where is it now?
Yeah, where is it?
It's in a weird place. It's
not in your locked room, is it?
It's not my locked room, but it's Drake's drum is in fact. Let me think. It's not in a museum in Plymouth or anything like that. Or it might be. Oh, it might be in the Drake Museum in Tavistock.
Incorrect.
No, I'm sorry. I was about to say thinking aloud.
You were about to say.
I was about to say thinking aloud.
All right, I'll give you one more guess then.
Right. But in fact, I think it's probably... I think it's still out in the Caribbean somewhere. I believe it to be in a museum in... I know where it is. I think it's in San Francisco.
Incorrect.
No.
I find you guilty of mutiny.
Why would it be in San Francisco?
Because there's a hotel in San Francisco called the Sir Francis Drake, because he actually...
well, there's plenty of pubs called the Sir Francis Drake. It's not in any of them either.
He pulled into harbour there on his way on his world voyage. Where do you say it is?
It's in Buckland Abbey in Devon.
Yeah, I knew that.
Which is, of course, where he used to live. Question number 7.
I knew that.
King Philip II offered a reward for Drake's death. How much was it?
It amounted to... Now, it was in doublows, right? Doublows being the Spanish currency in those days.
Are you sure it's doublows?
Yeah, I'm absolutely certain. And I think it was 20,000 doublows, which is the equivalent today of £4 million.
That is correct.
Hooray! Yeah, I've got a chief duck.
But it's 20,000 ducats I've got here, rather than doublows, but you still get the point.
I thought they called them doublows.
That's 3.5 so far out of 7.
Yes.
Question number 8.
Yes.
How many children did Drake have from his 2 marriages?
His second wife was Sydenham, with whom Margaret Sydenham, I think, with whom he hoped to have children, because he didn't have any by his first wife, who sadly died of the plague. But they never had any children. Didn't have any children.
He had no children.
No children.
That's your answer. Correct.
Yeah, I've got a chief duck. Oh, this is storming home.
4.5 out of 8. Question number 9.
Yes.
Where can you find an ocean-going replica of the Golden Hind?
Ocean-going?
Yeah.
Well, there is a Golden Hind, believe it or not, outside a pub in Borough Market, about 2 miles from here. There's no
point looking to me for inspiration. I'm not allowed by the rules of the quiz to give you any help.
Whether that's ocean going, I don't know. I would have to say, almost certainly, it's going to be down in Plymouth, like Plymouth Hoe or something. So I'm going to have to say, once again, no, it can't be Plymouth Harbour. That's too obvious, isn't it? Thinking of Devonport, which is the Royal Navy base down there. Is that? See, I mean, when you think about it, you see, Lord Nelson's boat, HMS Victory, is in his home port of Portsmouth. So I assume, of course, it's not the original boat, is it? That's the problem. Which, as you quite rightly say, was called the Pelican first. I'm going to have to say, it's going to be the one here. It's Borough Market in London.
Correct.
Hooray! Yeah, I've got a chief duck.
I thought you were going to move away from that for a moment.
Yeah, but you wanted me to.
No, I didn't, but I can't help you. Technically, it's actually Bankside.
Expressionless on your face. You wanted me to move to Plymouth.
Technically, it is Bankside.
Wow, this is incredible.
So, I mean, I'm being...
Score now 6.5?
5.5, actually.
5.5?
Yeah,
5.5.
Final question number 10.
Right.
What was Sir Francis Drake known as to the Spaniards?
To the Spaniards?
He had a nickname.
Now, that nickname was based on his ginger beard, right? He was known as, I mean, he was their worst nightmare. He was their nemesis. He was a man who plundered ships in the same way that you plunder beef burgers, if you see what I mean.
Beef burgers?
Yeah.
Who plunders beef burgers?
Well, you do. The way you plunder kebabs, that was as easy for him to plunder ships. He was known as El Devilo.
Incorrect.
I find you guilty of mutiny.
Devilo, no. He was known as the Dragon, actually, which was El Drac.
I need half a point for that.
Why?
Because I said El Devilo.
El Devilo.
That's halfway there.
Uh-huh.
I knew it was.
It's not, no.
I thought it was Devilo.
Well, it would be would it be El Diablo if it was something to do with the devil?
No, and what do you say it was?
El Drac.
Well, I think, come on, that's very close.
It's not close enough.
I got the L bit right.
Well, L is anything, the sort of definitive article. That's
No. I mean, I'm called Porky, not the Porky, right? So
you would be called El Porky.
No,
if
I
you
wouldn't.
Were in Spain.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, you would.
Look, I think the audience will say that you've got to give me half a point for that.
Not at all.
I think you have.
Well, in that case, I could take half a point off you for saying Borough Market instead of Bankside.
No, rubbish.
Because actually, Bankside is where the boat is.
And Borough Market is right there.
Well, so is the river, but it's not in the river, is it?
I'm sorry, but I'm
5.5 out of 10, I think, is a pretty good score.
I think it's very credible.
You've only done better than that once before.
And that's obviously credible.
In the chocolate quiz. So
that's brilliant.
Actually, by your standards, you are quite an expert on Sir Francis Drake.
Thank you very much indeed.
Congratulations. I'm slightly worried that the rules for the answers are getting a bit lenient, to be honest.
What do you mean?
Well, I just think you're doing better lately than you have in the past.
That's because I spend
I think the quizmasters are going a bit soft.
Enormous amount of time studying these things. You know what I mean?
Quizmasters may have gone
it's
a
not
bit
the quizmasters getting soft, mate. It's me getting brighter.
Yeah, well, that could be open to argument
as my brain gets more mature.
So you think you're getting brighter now?
I do think I'm getting brighter. Yeah. Do you know Drake was one?
You've seen the time, by the way.
I mean, Drake was one of the greatest of Englishmen ever. I sometimes struggle. My three top Englishmen, Lord Nelson...
said, have you seen the time?
Winston... Don't worry about the time for the minute. Lord Nelson, Winston Churchill, John Lennon. But What are you laughing at?
Well, it's kind of an odd trio, isn't it?
No, it's not. No, they're the three greatest Englishmen
spot the odd one out.
We've ever had. But somewhere in there's got to be room for Sir Francis Drake.
Well, why don't you put Drake in instead of Lennon?
Well, because I've got a seafarer in Lord Nelson. Lord Nelson created the British Empire and kept us safe for 200 years at sea until Mr Cameron decided to scrap all our aircraft carriers, which has annoyed me intensely.
Right. And what category do you put Churchill in, then?
Well, Churchill saved us from Nazi tyranny.
And what did John Lennon save us from?
John Lennon brought down the Berlin Wall, got rid of communism,
right.
and
apparently it's back.
And basically, what John Lennon did was he reignited the energy of the world after the Second World War. That's what he did.
Right.
That's what he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
He turned black and white into colour. He did.
I can say no more than that. This is Talk Sport.
Tiles. They come in all shapes and sizes. They're made of porcelain, ceramic, marble, granite, limestone. You'll find them all at Tops Tiles, where we have a wide range of tiles, plus over 20 new and exclusive products. They have fancy names too, like Batura. That's named after a glacier in Asia. And Dima, which is Arabic for rain cloud. Fancy that.
Find over 20 new and exclusive products in over 340 stores nationwide and at topstiles.co.uk.
Everyone knows that all the best things come in threes. 3 Amigos, 3 Stooges, 3 Lions. And right now, if you sign up to 888 Sport, you'll get treble odds on your first bet. Play with 888 Sport and harness the power of 3 with treble odds on your first bet. New customers only. Minimum £5 bet to qualify. Maximum £10 bet at treble odds. Bet at normal odds. Extra winnings added as a free bet within 72 hours. Free bets must be used within 7 days and are not included in any returns. See site for full terms and conditions. 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
If you've recently noticed that you're starting to lose your hair, there are a range of options open to you. You could have a hair transplant, as long as you're earning as much as a Premier League footballer. For the more thrifty amongst us, there's always the classic comb-over. Or if you really want to make a statement, why not go all out and get yourself a poodle perm wig? However, if you want to do something effective, you're going to need facts, not fiction. Regain for Men Extra Strength Scalp Foam contains minoxidil, which has been scientifically proven to help stop and even reverse hereditary hair loss, working deep down at the root. It can be used on a receding hairline, and the earlier you start using it, the higher your chances of success. You could even start seeing visible results in 16 weeks. And now Regain has an app that gives you support and advice to track your progress and maintain your twice-daily routine. Separate the facts from the fiction at regain.co.uk. Regain contains minoxidil. Always read the label.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Super opinionated oratory.
Give it a workout.
Talk Sport.
A bit more Danish pop for you there.
Yeah, meaningless.
Alpha beats, I think.
I don't call that pop, I call it pap.
Well, it really is pop, though. It's very poppy, isn't it?
Listen, the tributes are pouring in for my performance in the quiz.
I wouldn't say tributes.
Absolutely.
I've got one here from Roy. He says, not impressed. I had high hopes for this quiz. I would have bet the house Porky would have got 7+ on his hero.
Well, I nearly did. If I'd have opted for Plymouth instead of Tavistock, which was his birthplace, so I guessed that his birthplace had honoured him, that would have been 6.5.
Well, you can say anything
If I'd have got the half point you owed me for El Devil, that would have been 7.
How do you figure you get half a point for something which is wrong?
No, I should have done. But anyway, look, old Becky from New Zealand, one of our great fans and correspondents.
Yeah, she wasn't too happy with you slagging Auckland off, by the way, yesterday on the show.
I didn't slag Auckland off.
Yes, you did.
I didn't.
Yeah, you said it was a terrible place.
I never said that.
Yeah, you did, when I told you that I wrote a newspaper column in one of the papers in Auckland.
Yeah, I said nobody will read it. Yeah, well,
you were very rude about the people of Auckland.
Yeah, I was being rude about you, not people of Auckland. Auckland's a great place.
Well, obviously the collateral damage has had some effect.
Now, Becky says, brilliant knowledge of Drake by Porky, best quiz in a while. Why did you not give him the look, MG?
Yeah, well, I can't. It's completely and utterly against the rules.
When I was about to utter Tavistock, and it should have been Plymouth, there should have been a semblance of emotion on your face.
Well, I can't give you any emotion. That's the whole point. It's not possible for me to do.
Yeah.
William says, Porky, you've shown your true colours, an outstanding Englishman, putting the great into Britain.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if he's talking
indeed.
about you or Sir Francis Drake.
Well, probably both of us.
The trouble is that, you know, for you to get 5.5 and for people to think that that's an outstanding score, unfortunately kind of puts everything into perspective, because normally it's 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Because 5.5 would barely get you a pass in an awful lot of examinations.
Oh, I don't think so. But it's the overall knowledge of my subject which people are impressed about. You see what I mean?
Yeah, but that's why you do that kind of whole long-winded answer thing.
No, it's not a long-winded answer. It's thinking aloud. It's analysing facts and getting them into an answer. Liz, of course, says, spectacular score, Porky, but I think Captain Gerrymander was at work again. Very proud of your great score. Liz, thank you very much indeed.
5.5 out of 10.
Well, it's a brilliant score.
Well, Lord Rollo says the Porkmeister did well and no signs of gerrymandering.
Yeah, well, you
done,
don't know about the gerrymandering behind the scenes.
No, there never has been gerrymandering. That's the point.
And Smethwick Mon, who comes from Smethwick, says, and to think that old Porky used to work for the Sandwell Evening Mail. Absolutely shocking. I did, actually. I founded the Sandwell Evening Mail.
You founded it?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
What's the Sandwell Evening Mail?
It was a subsidiary of the Birmingham Evening Mail. We tried to move in on the Wolverhampton Express and Star.
What do you mean you founded it?
Well, because I went out there and set it up in Sandwell.
Well, you didn't found it then, did you?
Actually, where was it? In Dudley.
Presumably it was the people that owned the Birmingham Mail that founded it.
Yeah, but I went out there and set up the Sandwell edition. You see what I mean?
They chose you as the editorial character
that's right.
to do it.
That's right.
How many people in the office?
In Dudley, there's about 5 of us.
5?
Yeah.
And you were in charge?
Yeah, and it was ridiculous because the Wolverhampton Express and Star competed with the Birmingham Mail for the biggest evening sale in those days. We each had about 1/3 330,000.
Right.
But the ridiculous thing was that the biggest selling town for the Wolverhampton Express and Star, after Wolverhampton itself, was Dudley, where they sold about 40,000 a night.
Right.
We went in there and had to compete against that. We started off with nothing.
And how did it go?
Well, after
what
about
did you get it up to?
I was there for a month and we got up to 7,000.
Brilliant.
It's pretty good.
7,000 against 40.
Yeah, but I mean, I was trying to flog a Birmingham-based paper in the Black Country.
Right.
Not easy.
So it's not a failure then for you?
No, it wasn't a failure. It was a great success.
But I mean, the problem with doing all that is, you know, how much do you want to micromanage the news for people? You know, does it only become, you know, people who live in Sandwell don't just want to read things about Sandwell, do they? They want to read about lots of other places.
Well, maybe, but I mean, I had my finger on the pulse. Right.
7,000 out of 40 is what, about a fifth or so, less than a fifth, isn't
it? In a month, they had their 40,000 based on selling it there for 70 years.
But they probably
for goodness
cut
sake.
the price, though, didn't they? Did they cut the price as a promotional offer?
What?
Did they cut the price?
Yeah, 10p and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, well, no, in those days, probably 5p or something like that, you know.
Well,
right, here we go. Pay says, well done, Porky. You are a blinking genius on Drake history. Oh, I love all these. Keep them coming, please.
5.5 is not a genius score. 9.5 would be a genius score. Anonymous says this, was Porky looking down all the time at sheets of paper?
No.
With all that Drake info on it?
No.
Definitely we need a steward's inquiry.
No. Ian here says, fantastic performance, Porky. Despite some gerrymandering, obviously, it was there from old MG. Well done. They're just pouring in.
You're very happy about this, aren't you?
Yeah, well done, Porky. Best effort. Yeah, keep up the work. Should have been 6 out of 10, says Lee. It's all marvellous stuff.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'll tell you what about something else we haven't mentioned yet, and that is this big row that's going on between the Pope and Donald Trump.
Yeah,
somebody actually put something out on Twitter the other day. You know, is this actually happening?
Yeah.
You know, because it is kind of surreal for the Pope to be getting into some kind of Barney with an American presidential candidate by the name of Mr. Trump.
Yeah, I heard Donald Trump replying to that. He said...
the Pope had to go first, didn't he? And said when he was asked about Donald Trump and, his kind of Christian values.
That's right.
And he said something like, anyone who wants to put walls up is not a true Christian.
Yeah, well, he was talking about Trump's fairly outrageous statement that Muslims would be banned from entering America if he was president,
well,
right?
he was, and also about the wall that he wants to build between Mexico and North America.
And to keep the Mexican people from flowing across the Rio Grande.
Yeah.
But what...
which is a pretty ridiculous idea, to be honest.
Well, he'd probably do it, you know. He'd probably...
No, I don't think you could do it, because you can't build a wall that's that long.
Well, hang on. The Great Wall of China was built. Hadrian's Wall was built.
Yeah,
and that was in days when they didn't have any engineering facilities.
Yeah, but it didn't stop anybody from going anywhere, did it?
Well, it did. It stopped the Picts from invading England. And
they didn't want to invade England.
They did. Yeah, they did.
No, they did.
Oh, yeah, they did.
The Picts were quite happy where they were.
Yeah, they weren't. They
didn't want to come anywhere warmer.
Anyway, point of my story is I heard Trump responding to that.
Point of your story?
Yeah.
How is it a story?
What do you mean?
How's it your point of your story?
Because I heard Trump replying to the attacks
well,
from
a lot of people heard him reply.
From the Pope. And what he said was, he said, I've been to the Vatican. The Vatican's got big balls. Maybe the Pope should stay inside them. And
trouble is, every time somebody has a go at Trump, he kind of ends up getting even more popular.
Yes, he does, yeah. I totally agree. And, America is known for being the basis of some very strong political elements. One of them happens to be the Italian Catholics. So I'm not sure how that will go down with people in that part of the world.
Yes, but there's only ever been one Catholic president, hasn't there? And that was
John F. Kennedy. Yeah, that's right.
Interesting times. Well, we'll probably do a bit more on Trump as the election gets a little bit nearer.
Do you see that our old mate Piers decided to diaryfy his relationship with Donald Trump in last Sunday's Mail on Sunday?
He just kind of took a load of excerpts out of various encounters with him, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was on. He won the Celebrity Apprentice over in the US,
right.
and up until fairly recently, he's been quite supportive of Donald Trump.
Yes,
I think he quite admires him, but he doesn't agree with him about everything. But I mean, as usual, it was the Piers Morgan version of events.
Yes, it was. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and how he helped make Donald Trump the man he is today.
Yes, which is not, I suppose, entirely true. But no, it was just a series of interviews that he'd done with him and what he made of what the guy said.
It's true. Yeah, it was very entertaining. So Donald Trump, when is his candle going to be extinguished?
Well, I don't know if it is because I was talking to somebody today about it actually, and I wondered, maybe a year ago we spoke to a congressman over there, an ex-congressman, who said that the thing about Donald Trump is no matter how well he does, he doesn't really want to be president.
That's right,
and that may have been true then, but I don't know if that's true now. I think now he sees how popular he is and how popular the movement that is behind him is. That I think he does quite fancy it now. I don't think he's going to walk away from it.
My everlasting image of the President of the United States of America is when I went and did Bill Clinton's inauguration in Washington in 91.
No, you never mentioned that.
Haven't I not?
No, you have.
No, sorry. Yeah. You're taking the mickey.
I'm being slightly disingenuous.
But the most stunning image is when you see the president-to-be, because he's not president until he's sworn in,
right.
Literally marching along the corridor inside the Capitol with the officers of the state on either side of him towards the podium where
which is outside on the steps.
Outside on the steps, where it's usually about minus 25 degrees in January in Washington, D.C., which is the coldest part of America at that time of the year. And,
well, it's not really, but I know what you mean.
Well, it is. It's freezing.
Yeah, but it's a lot colder further north, though.
Well, the Chesapeake can be blinking freezing, mate, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I know it can.
And just seeing the look on the man's face as he suddenly is transformed from ordinary citizen to the president.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
your life has changed forever.
It's changed forever.
Yeah, exactly.
And all the months and months of preparation.
That's right.
Presumably what they're thinking is, I must not mess up the words here.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Most of them don't really, do they?
No, they don't. No. It was amazing. Amazing.
Where were you actually watching it from? Inside the Capitol building? Then?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
So you didn't have to go out in the cold?
No, I didn't have to go out in the cold, no. And the night before, which I thought was pretty pathetic, he'd gone to Arlington, the cemetery, and knelt down beside the Everlasting Flame, which is positioned on top of John F. Kennedy's
well, he was a big fan of Kennedy's,
spot.
Wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he was always trying to kind of evoke the Kennedy spirit.
Yes, he was, and without being unkind and speaking ill of the dead, I know President Clinton's still alive, but John Kennedy's not. They had very, very similar social pastimes.
Yes.
If you see what I mean.
I do see what you mean. I don't think there's any need to elaborate.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed.
No wonder he admired him.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, he tried to ape him in many ways.
He did,
yeah. We've got very little time left, but in a moment I'm going to just double-check all our movements for Saturday and that big FA Cup game, which is live on TalkSport, of course.
Indeed.
It's Bournemouth against Everton. This is TalkSport.
2 TalkSport teams are about to go big as they take on the Heinz Big Soup Challenge on TalkSport. Listen to Colin Murray next Tuesday from 10 as the 2 intrepid teams feel the pressure when they test their power and penalty prowess in a spot kick football showdown. Don't miss the Heinz Big Soup Challenge every Tuesday on the Colin Murray Show on TalkSport with Heinz Big Soup. Heinz Big Soup. Go big or go hungry.
Today you and I are not the same. You say you like the sun, I like the rain. So before we go do it all again, you better catch your own train.
Very very nearly at the end of another week for the Two Mics. There'll be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, but there'll be plenty of activity going on over the weekend, of course. If you look on Two Mics TV, there's a little tribute to Vera.
There is indeed.
Which will be out on TV, of course, on Sunday night, but it's the alter ego. And I guess on the way down to Bournemouth, there might be the odd tweet, the odd sort of interaction going on.
Well, I think it's going to be a very interesting day. I mean, first of all...
It's going to be a very long day, isn't it?
No, it'll be a good day. I mean, first of all, it's not often that we get out and about as a team.
That's true.
So we're looking forward to meeting all the people of Bournemouth. Secondly, of course, I am, massively involved in the outcome of the game, and you are a casual observer.
Well, I'm not really a casual observer. I mean, because I will be feeling whatever pain or joy you have.
Yes,
but obviously, in my capacity to keep everything kind of neutral, I'll have to be back in Bournemouth.
And then there is a social side to it, in which you'll be introduced to members of my family in the family mansion.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. And then you've got to somehow get yourself home in a bladderated state back to London in the evening, whereas I'll be taking of dinner and...
thanks for the invite.
And, hostelry facilities for the night in Bournemouth.
And then you're staying down there Sunday, presumably, eh?
No, I'm not. Come back Sunday.
You're coming back?
Come back.
Oh, OK. So it's a pretty quick visit.
Yes.
Right. Well, I shall be talking to you over the next couple of days then.
Indeed.
I'll see you on Saturday. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics.
Look at the light!
Don't forget to follow the Two Mics at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.
Can give you a rash on sort of, your nether regions. If it gets into your nether regions, under your armpits or anywhere else like that, you can get a nasty rash. But it's not fatal. It can't kill you.
I'm thinking of better ways of getting a rash.
What?
Sorry.
What do you mean by that?
No, I didn't say that. Sorry. Oh, sorry, Sandra.
I can think of better ways of getting a rash.
No, I didn't say that. No. That wasn't me. If an elephant falls over in the jungle, right, you don't walk up to it with a cane and start whacking it because it's fallen over,
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Listen, Doc, give me something to improve my rumpy-pumpy factor.